I did it again. I keep sitting there staring at the screen, forgetting to press go live. Hello for the two that's up in here. Hello, puppet face. Mr. Hamilton, that's your link. I don't know why we're this heavy vest today. Come on, Mr. Andre. Waiting on you, buddy. There he is.
What's up, buddy?
Do I not have the volume on?
I hear you.
Oh, there. Well, no, I not have the volume on.
Oh, how you doing, man?
What's good, buddy? Wait, I'm blurry. It's probably blurry just for a second. Is it still blurry?
Who said that?
Mimi said it's blurry, but
hey, Mimi, I'm blurry too. I think she's referring to you, boss man.
Probably is. You know, I got that out in the woods internet. I've been blurry. Man, I just moved my box back up here too.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was talking to somebody about the stream, and they said that's always the biggest thing, dropping frames and all that hoopla. Because it takes a while to figure it out. Is it right?
Yeah, bro. I just need a better provider for out here.
Take it.
Am I still blurry?
Hello. I mean, that's better. That's better.
Most of the time when I'm live, I click on my own live.
Nah, it is what it is, man. We're gonna upgrade.
Yes, sir. Oh shit.
It is what it is, man.
Mimi, you're a liar. I ain't blurry. That was you, brother.
Oh, I thought I heard another voice.
Yeah, it was you on my phone.
Got you.
I was turning on my phone to see if I'm blurry. Oh yeah, this
is blurry a little on my side, but anyway. So how's it been, man? I know it's been a while. We got to link up, man. You either got to come to Lynchburg or I got to come up again. Bring what?
Chilling. Uh-oh. Don't talk to my sister like that, though. Don't say what to her like that.
I gotta work on my Spanish. I can't strictly just use it. She gives me looks when I don't try to speak in Spanish. I'm embarrassed.
How come sis ain't try to teach me any Spanish yet?
I don't know. That's a good question. Again, my kids don't even speak Spanish. She needs to get on that. Oh. What? There's nothing wrong with that. That's a fair thing to say. That should be it.
Anyways, now that I'm looking at myself.
This was an interesting topic. Why'd you pick this? Oh, it's coming great now. This is you're clear.
I had the list of things. I told you. I think you chose that 2 weeks ago. I think. Anyways,
I'm just intrigued. This is an interesting. This, especially this day and age with the economic state of the average American. This is an interesting topic, man. This is a very good one.
yeah, it's dangerous. It could be dangerous.
It could be. This is a. I'm a little worried. I'm gonna. I don't want to say hot takes, but I'm gonna try to be bold and just say what say what comes, man. I don't want to. I don't want to be too filtered, but I am nervous.
Right. And your other host, by the way, she said she'll be a little bit late. Her son's has a game today.
I get that.
But yeah, man. So like money and relationships. For the five of us that's in here, I'm sure we've all dealt with it. I'm sure it's all been a headache and a joy in our relationships. Like I'm pretty sure when he graduated, I'm pretty sure he got a big old smoochie from the white. Well, actually, I was at his graduation. We did get a big old smoochie while while I was hanging out with Mr. Andre's dad and dad over there trying to flirt with ladies in the hallway.
He was, huh? I'm telling you, that
You
man.
got mad. You got mad. I was like, oh man, don't be mad.
Because he can't keep it together. Always. Do you have one in? Oh, you don't have one in. No, man. You do.
Should be here late. DH was good.
Talking about.
Sorry about that.
Old man Hamilton and his tendency to be very charming with certain people. Warlord was at our graduation, or he was at my graduation. Honestly, brother, I mean, I got married in 18? 18? I was 19. She was 18. And ever since then, she's been in charge of it all. So it's like, of course, she was. I always make the joke. That like, all right, you're gonna clown me, but I'm gonna say it because I'll put 10 toes down on business. So there is a song that Syria knows I love. It's called, what is it? It's called "Wait for You." It's Future featuring Drake, right? And one of the Drake lines, anytime I hear him, or anytime the song's on speakers, I always bump it, right? And I always say this line to Syria. He goes, "I was messing with you when you had that tiny presidential. You got better when you met me, and that ain't coincidental." Anytime I hear that line, I always say to Syria and just look at her. I always say, you got better when you met me, and it ain't coincidental. Everyone knows it's a lie. My entire family knows that's not true. But I always, I got beat on my chest every time I hear that line. But if I'm being honest, man, like she was the one who always managed the money. I never. I mean, you remember me. You remember young Andre with no. I was buying stupid, expensive jeans and gifts for people. I was like one of those young, like obviously not nearly as successful, nearly not as much money, but the young athletes or the young entertainers who get a big check and blow it on their family. Like I got my mom a new purse. I got my brother some stuff. Like it was her. She was the one who helped me manage money and learn the importance of like saving and a savings account and like. All that. I did before her. I didn't do that.
See, I feel like if both parties agree on that, I feel like that's perfect, man. That works if both parties agree on one person manages money. Now I mean I've seen it with one of my old friends. His grandmother, she worked with us too, and she told me the stories. Like they were getting a house built, and something happened. They had just happened to win. What was it? I think it was like 20 grand from the lottery at the right time, so they can finish getting the house built. And then his grandfather went and drank it away and gambled it away. And he said he's never seen his grandmother put hands on anybody. Never thought she would put hands on the grandfather. But she's Vietnamese. He was an older white dude. She beat him across the apartment that they was living, like back and forth across that apartment. Like, dang, that's crazy. But the thing is, she was saying that she used it to manage the money, and then he managed it, and she didn't feel like it was a good idea. But for the sake of the relationship, she put her trust in him.
She let it slide.
Now, to me, like, man, that would destroy me on the inside if I let my family down like that. Like I would die. I would melt.
Honestly, brother, I think
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like, I can't. I know myself, boss. I know myself. If Sierra was like, "Oh, yeah, whatever, you take care of it, man. Me and you, we go somewhere," I'd be dumb. We we go. I had to go get a bunch of like. I need, and I think that's the thing. You need to know yourself and be aware of your limitations. Like, I think
Andre,
Mrs. Hamilton
can I
is
interrupt you real
what's
quick?
up. Of course, man.
Can you pause yourself for like 3 seconds or mute yourself for 3 seconds and then unmute? So I thought I was the only one hearing like a burnt type feedback, but we're getting feedback from you. Do you got your phone open somewhere close? Is my volume too high? Maybe my volume's too high on my laptop. All right, try talking now, bro.
I'm unmuted now. Is everything okay?
No, where is this coming from? I don't know where it's coming from because everything I got down low. Hmm. I
No,
don't
I
know,
don't think
Brody.
so. All right, here, hold
Well,
up.
I'm not
The
hearing.
missus is gonna try something. Can you hear any? Can you still hear me?
It's probably your earpiece.
Can you hear me now? Is it good?
Yep. Hey, Gloss, how you doing? Well, okay, so you gotta say full sentence.
All right, so I think a big aspect of this entire situation is knowing your positives and your negatives, knowing your positive attributes, your negative attributes. It's just a lot of self awareness. So I know that when it comes to the missus and the family, like I'll do whatever it takes. Like I'll go work. I mean, like for me, I knew, hey, I could have fun. You know, I could hang out with Warlord or whoever. But when it came to like handling business at law school or just undergrad or work, I know, hey, I got to take care of them. That's the top priority. But you know, Mrs. Hamilton also knows Alex at the same time. Well, hey, if I'm hungry, I'm gonna go buy something. If I want something new, I'll go buy it. Like I do, I very much lack on that particular part. So I don't think so. I don't know. Can you hear me, Warlord?
I can hear you, but yeah, I'm getting like a burnt sound when you talk. I mean, it's not too bad on my end. I don't know how it is on the people listening. Is Mrs. Hamilton listening?
No, she's not listening. It's just me. I put both of them in now, but I don't know what's up, buddy.
It's all good, bro.
Are you sure? Is it? If it's me, man, God body, is it me? Is it? I feel. I don't know.
You
I'm
still
worried
sound
now.
like a frog.
I still sounds like a frog. Woof. Is it? But is it the audio quality? I feel bad now. I don't. I hope it's not.
It's not your audio quality. It's just when you talk, it's just like a burping noise every syllable you say.
That is weird. Maybe I should try to disconnect and reconnect it. I don't know.
You can
All
try
right,
it.
you. I'm gonna.
And
Yeah,
then
I'll.
Mimi said this about you.
She said
There
what?
you go.
Yeah, you're right.
I said Mimi said that
Yeah,
about you.
I sound like a frog.
Oh,
Y'all
excuse me.
heartless. Y'all cold as ice. All right, let me try to fix this. Hold up. So I don't sound like a damn frog. Hold up. Hold up.
Oh, JP's here. That was earlier than expected, man. Oh, you're muted, JP.
I'm here. Sorry, the game got canceled, so I popped in late, but I'm here.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry the game got canceled. Mm-hmm. We were just talking about. I think I shared the subject with you. We were just talking about pretty much like money in relationships, how it can be a blessing or be the source of strife, arguments, possibly divorce. Kind of like how COVID was, how so many couples wasn't so used to being around each other for so long during the day, and that messed up a lot of relationships. Good. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
hear
Miss
you.
Gloves. Okay. All right. So, I guess while we're waiting on Mr. Andre, I told the story about my homeboy and his grandmother, or what story she told us. I don't really have any story like for my marriage. I mean, the money was in my account, but we both had free access to it. My ex, she didn't really care to jump in there that much, but when she did, she would say something to me, or what she liked telling me that she wanted something. She liked me to just to get it for her. So I didn't really come into too much of that, but I did joke with her once, and I told her I was like, hey, it's like we're completely out of money when her sister was visiting. Now apparently that wasn't a very good joke because her sister got mad at me. She got mad, um, but just her reaction to it. I was happy with the reaction to it. But again, that's probably my fault. Now that Andre's back, I'm about to start mashing the live with people on Facebook.
I love you, Ayla. Ayla.
I love you. Wait, what's my name? Alana.
I'm in the vehicle, so that's why I'm not doing the video portion. But I do still want to
Gotcha.
participate. I'm just driving home.
Yeah, of course.
So, what was the point of the test, Warlord? Just to see if she would still roll
Andre, can
with
you
you,
give us?
even if she.
I mean, it wasn't a test. I was just messing around.
Oh,
'Cause I think she was bugged me about getting, and I was like, I don't think we should get that just all right now. 1 month, it's like, yeah, we got a lot of money in savings, but we should probably just wait 2 months, like split that in half. She was like tripping about it. Basically, we were both being kind of nasty and testy with each other.
how old were you both, roughly?
I was probably 27, so she was probably 23.
Was it a good chunk of cash? Was it like a good amount?
I think it was 7,000.
I don't know, man. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's sorry. I don't know, man. I feel like when it comes to cash, it's just tough. I know, obviously, each couple is unique. Each person has their own approach as it pertains to how responsibilities are divided amongst the family and amongst the home. But it's just, I mean, it's one of the biggest reasons for the ending of relationships, marriages. When it comes to finances. So I just think that I think it's just it requires a lot of self awareness. You got to know, like, hey, which one of you is good with the cash? Maybe you can share it. I don't. I'm not a big fan of the idea of separate cash, yours and mine. I don't. I don't know. But again, I think that's just because of you know all the clients that I talk to, and from what I've seen and how some of the family that I've seen how that goes, and it just again it can work. It always again there is no general rule that applies to everyone. So, but I don't know. This is a tough one because you have this idea, right? You have this idea that the couple obviously is something that survives on itself, right? If you got you and that other person, it doesn't matter what you guys face as long as you guys work together as a team. So for me,
Right.
it's just, and I think that's the biggest point. The point is that, like, hey, if you guys work together, who cares how everything gets resolved or divided? Like, if you guys are both on board with it, then it should be fine in theory. I don't know. It often isn't, right? Because of something. Who knows?
Okay, so it's like they always say one of the biggest reasons for divorce is finances. There we go. There he goes in the push-up position. I should leave him sitting there looking like that too, smiling.
Who?
I wish y'all could see his face.
What up? What
What's
up?
wrong with this dude? The only reason why he came up is because JP's up here.
I'm on the
Look, always
ground
got a
right now.
shirt off.
Stop this push-up.
Hold on, let me turn my fan off because I can't hear
Like
none
I
of you.
said,
Yo, he is this for JP?
it probably is.
Oh snap!
JP, he got on the panel just for you.
No, he did not.
J,
This gentleman here.
He did.
Yeah, I did.
Dang,
Yeah.
see in the background. He's like, yeah, I did.
Even without his shirt on and everything.
You gotta turn off the camera, JP.
Got
I
by,
think that's only fair.
got by.
I can't. I'm driving right
now. Got together and got married. Who would handle you guys' finances, bro?
You talking to me? Well,
Again?
I was.
Yeah.
It was kind of like I left it open, right? Because like I was the only one working, making the money, so it's kind of like I'm gonna make sure everybody's happy. But like really, I'm in charge ultimately. Because if I feel like, hey, listen, we need to save money for like next month or something, I get the ultimate say. But when you're the sole breadwinner, you still gotta take into account the needs of your woman, right? Like, shit, she wants to buy a new wig. She needs that new wig. Get her that new wig, right? She needs new clothes. You can't let it lack for them. But at the same time, you can't let them take the money and run with it either, bro. So, it's gotta be some balance and structure. But I definitely gotta be in control. I gotta be.
Is it because you? What's your reason for needing to be in control?
Because it's gotta, when you have the whole family under your wing, like you're responsible for how life's gonna go for them, right? So like you can't just have people spending to spend and to spend and to spend, right? There's a whole future ahead of us, especially when you got children. So there's got to be order and structure, right? Like you got to be able to build some sort of a reserve, right? You got to start piling up that money for, you never know how life's gonna go. So like when people just, oh hey, let's go ahead and dig into the bank account. You don't gotta ask me nothing to spend that money. Hey, if you're rich and you got it like that, that's cool. But like when you're starting from the bottom, no, like the money's gotta be, you gotta place it in wise positions, right? Can't let it lack either. You can't let it lack for your wife. You know how it is. If you let a woman just run crazy with your money, she's gonna spend it like crazy, bro. Like
Don't say that. Don't say that. If
What? What? No.
Don't say
JP, what's wrong?
because
talk to me, baby.
I think it depends on the personality traits of the two people involved, right? Like I have always been in control of the finances in every relationship that I was a part of. Like in my marriage and the one that just ended, like I was in control of the finances. And it's because my personality is such that like money, I don't give a fuck about money. Like money has zero value to me personally. Like I don't. It's there to pay bills and all that stuff, but I hold no value to money. Like relationships are important to me. Making sure my kids are good, making sure the family's good, making sure bills are paid. That's what's important, to make sure that we're good. But I'm not gonna take the
Warlord,
money and
mute
just
her.
go and splurge it. But that's my personality.
It sound like
JP,
she's going swimming.
you're breaking up.
Bro, can you guys still hear me?
Can you hear me?
You're good. You're good, fam. JP just came in super Aquaman. I can't hear any of that, but you're good.
I'm gonna try
My audio's
no,
not.
never mind.
Yeah, my audio's
No,
bad, right?
you're good. You're good. About it.
Warlord, just mute JP. I want to hear fans' response.
Wait, is that me?
I don't know who that is, but that's bad.
Yo, I think that's me. It's this StreamYard, bro. My phone gets hot on this StreamYard.
Okay, it's chill now.
All right, let's see. Let's see how it goes, bro. I got my hand on the back right now to let that heat pass to my hand. Warlord knows. Yo, Warlord knows my struggle with this. Every time I get on StreamYard, my phone gets hot.
I forgot about that.
iPhone. Yeah, it gets bad. So like, but it's good now. It's good.
Do you? Okay, so I guess this is my question, fam. I want to ask the question, and I apologize. Please, I would know Warlord. I know JP. What's your name, fam?
Lucas.
Lucas. Hey, Lucas. So So I'll be the first one to say, for me, I do bear a large amount of the responsibility, even though financially speaking, like the missus handles everything. I don't really trip about the money, but it's not because I'm boss. It's not like that. It's just, it's different, I guess. But my question is, and maybe for you, do you think it's safe to say that for us, and by us I just mean, you know, certain personality types, do you think it's a view of, I need to be in charge because if I'm not, I'm worried we'll fail? Because for me personally, my mindset is always, I want to have all the tools in place so that if we fail, it's not me. And I think maybe that's a backwards way to view it. But in my mind, I'm like, look, you're my wife. I trust you entirely. I'm giving you this. I'm giving you that. I'm giving you this. It is all good. I know because we broke down the numbers, we should be good. You say we're saving X, bet. I trust you. However, if I do realize that something's wrong, then we need to recalibrate. And if this happens more than once, then like, yeah, this might be a wrap. But again, to be frank, like that has never been a problem that I've had. But I think for me, that's kind of the reason why I like to defer to that, because personally, I maybe I don't want to say on my dad or whatever, but I think it's just that I have that mindset of like, look, let me share the burden so that you can again raise the kids, so that, and it's not because she needs to or she has to or that's only where I want her. It's just, you know, my missus embraced that role. I was more than willing to embrace the other role.
Beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
So, but
that's
like
the way I want it to be too. Like, yeah, that's why you carry that extra load so she can be home with them, because that's the healthiest thing for your children, right? Like women don't understand how important that role is, of the mother, of the woman who can stay home. That's not a curse, bro. That's like the most beautiful thing you can do for us. That's why the man's supposed to work so hard to make sure she has everything she has. But like that's when your money is right though, you can do that. Like I did that in the beginning with my baby mother, right? Like I would literally work. I would just take a little bit of money for my paycheck to buy some weed so I could smoke, and the rest of it would be in her hands. She'll pay the bills and do whatever else with it. But what happened when I was leaving that in her hand like that? Bro, there was months where she would overspend on dumb shit like extra wigs, and then we wouldn't have food. So I was like, I started getting up mad, like, bro, what are you doing? Like, are you kidding me? Like, then I'm like, no, you're not controlling this. Now I'm gonna give you an allowance and I'm paying the bills. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's crazy, bro. So like, when you like, if the person's not responsible enough to carry that, then they shouldn't be holding the money. Like, you know, like, and that's why like I would make sure to like, I'll buy you what you need. But like, you know, we gotta prioritize the bills and making sure that food's not lacking. Cause I like to eat, right? And I want to eat good. I don't want to eat cheap shit. I want to have fruits in the house and vegetables, and I want my daughter coming up eating good. Like, you know, we're not gonna be eating just rice and beans stale because you want to have 30 pairs of wigs. Like, come on, bro. You know, so you gotta draw the line somewhere, bro.
Honestly, fam, I think it's crazy because, and I'll be super transparent. I'm grateful for everything, but sometimes it takes truly a lot of self-reflection to realize how fortunate people are. Because like one of my friends, right? And I'm not gonna name names, but one of my friends, you know, he was out there he was doing dog dirt, right? And I told him, I'm like, boss, you need to be careful. You need to be careful because when the time comes, and you know, you know, when that time comes, you know, if you don't fix it with you know the person who we're talking about, you're gonna find out the other side. And old boy was like, nah. I'm fine. I made peace with that. I'm like, boss, like you say that now because you haven't heard. You don't know. And sure enough, when he became aware that the person that he was with like moved on and was with other people, he broke down. He's freaking out.
Yeah.
And I bring that up just to say that, like, again, we take people for granted. I've taken Mr. Hamilton for granted so many times because I've never had to worry about that, or I've never had to worry about other things. When in the meantime, like, you know, I've been a jerk. And
yeah, we all
I
have.
think. Yeah, and I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate talking to you because you forced me to look in the mirror and say, well, look, what are you doing? Like, how are you improving your current situation? Because if I'm just being a jerk and leaning back and relying on, hey, well, I did this and that for you, we should be good. Like that, who am I? I'm no better than the guy who is resorting back to that whole I do this, and this. You should be taking care of what I say to take care of, and that's not how we do business. So that's a very it's a very real perspective, real perspective.
Yeah, it comes with experience, bro. We all go through the same things. At the end of the day, like pretty much when you break it down, bro, and this relationship stuff, like we all go through the same shit. Like, it's just different
Hey,
people, but it's the same experience. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing, right? What does a man want? He wants that loyal woman, right? Who's gonna be there for him and be that soft spot he can come home to, and he feels safe, right? I'm sure you felt it too, like, because I've been there where like, love didn't work out, and it's like you thought that person was your forever, right? And you felt at home with that person. But as soon as that person's not with you now, like it's kind of like you're not home anywhere. Like you don't have a home anymore. It's kind of like the world's just cold now. It's like, damn, I'm by myself. Like I have nobody. It's a hard feeling, right? That's why when I feel like once you have children, bro, you really better try to make it work. Cause like I don't know how you guys have like your family home and stuff. Like when you grow up with a broken family, bro, it's a big deal. So like you don't want that for your kids. It
yeah,
has a huge impact
no,
on
it
you.
does. Bro, without turning this into therapy, I'm pretty sure actually Warlord, he's known me forever. He knows. So when my parents they were like, I was like 7 or 8, and I just had anger. Like I didn't know how to express anything except anger.
Yeah.
So I didn't care about school. I
Yeah.
cared about sports just because it gave me a way to use my
Yeah.
anger, and like that was it. And I mean, I'm so surprised that like I didn't end up in the system because I probably should have. But like I look at my babies and I don't want them to have that hate because again, bro, like it was you don't know how to, and again, I think it's you don't know. It's not because my parents didn't love me. It's not because of X, Y, and Z. But when you're that young, you only look at it from the perspective of the child. What did I
Yeah.
do? How come you guys aren't together? What could I have done different? Because you're so egocentric. So it just sucks that like I'm grateful that I picked a partner who I can trust, and I'm grateful that we've been able to focus on on ourselves, on our marriage, and on the kids. But like, man, it's such a tough world because it's hard. I never heard that though. It's the same thing for everyone.
It
Relationships in
is.
general. When you say that to me, I'm like, damn, that is like, yeah, whether you're in your 50s or in your early 20s or whatever, you're going through the same shit. Like, bro, all in all, some
Yeah.
variation of it, but the same issues generally.
It's hard. New stuff starts to come up right as you go down the years and down the years. Because I've never been in a relationship, for example. There's some people who've been married for like 20 years, bro. Like I've never been with someone for that long. Like I've been with someone for like 5 years. But that's like nothing to a lot of people. But like to me, it was like
That's
we
real.
first,
No,
yeah. But it's not that long. But it
Long time
was
while you're
long enough
there.
for me to like learn a lot. Like
no, I hear you.
you
Right,
start to see
right.
parts of yourself that's messed up. Like shit, maybe I'm not as good as I thought it was. You just gotta start tweaking yourself because when you're in it, when you're in the mess, you can't see your flaws because you're like you just can't see it. But like once you mess things up and you look back, then you start looking like, all right, I was wrong here, like but I'm just too arrogant to have seen it. But that comes with age, right? Because like when you're a kid, like you're just a kid, bro. But as you like get older, I guess I don't know. It's a combination of the brain changing and experience coming together that you start to peep things from a different perspective, and that's how you start to really. What's up, JP? My girl, my girl cammed up for me. Look at this. My girl's camming up for me now.
Oh,
But yeah, bro,
Everybody's
like
so extra.
we're all like it's the same storyline, bro. It's just from different places, and different slightly different obstacles, but ultimately like we're on the same mission. You want that family, you want that wife, and that wife wants that husband who's gonna be providing. You don't want to be oppressive though. Like we all want the same shit, bro. It just needs to come together into a perfect rotation of spiraling energy, the masculine and feminine coming together, and it's the perfect place, bro, for the children to come up in, right? That's why God says the man and the women are supposed to join and become one flesh, and you see it in your kids. There you are. When you look at your kids, that's you and your husband or wife in one flesh right there. So now you guys got to be that perfect feminine and perfect masculine so they can come up healthy, and don't let it lack for them. Because if you let the masculine lack for that young boy, he's gonna have a hard time. He's gonna come up being aggressive and crazy because he's not gonna know what a man is. And if you lack that masculine for that daughter, she's not gonna know what man to look for. And if you lack that feminine for that boy, he's not gonna know what to look for too. And if you lack that feminine to that daughter, she's not gonna know what a woman is. She's gonna, you know, like you see these women without good mothers out here. Man, they're the ones that get messed up by, like, you know, messed up men, like, right? Like, it all comes together, bro. That's why the family is you got to keep that together, you know. I think you're muted.
Warlord, why has he not been on? I'm so sincere right now. Why?
Like,
Like,
hold
what
on.
is?
Hold him.
I'm
He
serious,
chose
bro.
not
Yeah,
to be
Lucas,
on.
you gotta stick around, dog. Like, you
Bro,
gotta.
I told
I
him to come
appreciate
on, I don't
this.
know how many
This
times.
is helping me more than anybody.
I told him to
So,
come on multiple times.
speaking of finance, like, I'll give an example. My her boyfriend, well, her husband.
1 second,
Yo, I
GG.
was about to say, someone got to get muted. I'm about to throw my phone, dog. This is wild. This is wild. Is it you or not? It can be Lucas. Somebody.
It's me. It's me.
Yeah, no,
My
it's you,
phone's
Jeffrey.
exploding, bro.
Here.
Where's your ice
I
pack,
got.
bro?
I'm gonna hop down for a little bit, and I'll be back when my phone cools off.
Just mute,
All right.
nah, bro. Just
Okay.
mute yourself, dog. You got to stay
Now.
here.
They just got married
Lucas
He
in
has
got
to
to
let his
July,
stay.
phone
so they're
cool down,
brand
though.
new newlyweds.
He has to let his
They
phone
had
cool down,
separate
though.
bank accounts, right? They did finances separately, all that stuff, which was okay. I mean, they lived together for 5 years. Like, they lived together, but we're doing everything separate. When it came down to the wedding, like, his dad had put in some money into an account for each of his kids for their weddings. So he had a budget that was in an account, like, since he was a kid for his wedding. And that money was specifically only used for his portion of the wedding, his groomsmen, himself. She had to pay out of pocket from, like, funds that she earned at work. She worked like 3 or 4 jobs to pay for her portion of the wedding. Like, it was not a joint venture. It wasn't like, hey, this is our wedding, we're going to pay for it. It was, I'm going to pay for my stuff and you're going to pay for your stuff. During this time, she had an issue with her vehicle breaking down and it getting towed and all this stuff. And he works a really good job. And I had asked her, is he going to help you, you know, get a vehicle? Are you guys going to get a vehicle? And she's like, I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I have to figure out how to get the tow paid for this vehicle. I have to try to get a different vehicle. Like, she, like, everything was on her own shoulders. Like, the whole weight was on herself. And I'm like, is he not going to help? And she was like, no, because it's my issue. Like, it's my car that broke down. It's my issue. It's my problem. And then after they got married, I had made a comment about, well, now you guys can, like, join finances, right? You guys are husband and wife. You're one. Like, you guys can have, like, a joint bank account, start doing things. And she's like, yeah, we could, but I don't want to. And I'm like, you don't want to join, like, into things together? And she's like, no, I got used to how it is now. And we're just going to keep doing it how we've been doing it. And I can't even fathom and wrap my head around how she's okay with that, how he's okay with that, because it's so, like, it works for them. They're both content with that. But I can't imagine being in such a financial situation where I know my partner is financially stable and he's solid and he's good, and I'm over here struggling to tread water and I don't get any help. Like, no help whatsoever. Not even like, hey, don't even worry about your half of the bills this month. Like, I'm going to cover the bills. Just figure out how to get your car running. Or, hey, don't worry about your car. I'm going to help you out. Like, they've clearly built a life together. They've been together for 5 years, right? They're engaged to be married. Now they are married, but it's like, I can't conceptualize having such a separate financial system within one family where I'm drowning and my partner's completely good.
Right.
Again, if it works, I don't know. I'm the first one who I take pride in how comfortable my wife is. That's just me. So for
I
me,
don't know
like
what happened. Oh, there you
I
are.
don't, yeah, I don't like the thought of like, for again, but that's how, if that's how they cook, that's how they cook. I'm not going to judge anybody, but I don't understand that. But what I will say is that if they're happy with it, I don't know, because how you described it does sound a hair weird. That sounds a little peculiar, but like I don't. I mean,
Yeah,
Warlord, and I've talked about this. It's a
so it's
very
judge, and I don't judge because it
Let me
works for them, whatever. But I can complete like before I never understood how finances were a problem for people and how it led to divorce because I've never had that problem. Like with you here, there. I don't know what name you're, but like with you, I've always like it comes down to personality. I'm great with money. I don't care about money. I'm not.
I can't hear JP.
JP, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear JP. But hey, brother, how you doing?
Yeah, I was gonna say really quick. Let me introduce.
Yeah, introduce. I was gonna say I was gonna say something. I was gonna message him. I don't.
Yeah, so y'all, this is Tucker. JP, we can't hear you. Or why did I do the phone sound? What am I doing? Anyway, we can't hear you. Anyways, but this is Tucker, y'all. Everyone say what's up to Tucker.
What's up,
Tucker
Tucker?
actually, he was one of my seniors, even though he's younger than me. Once again, at the same base where Andre, JP, and I was stationed at.
Best base ever. Best base ever. I'm not gonna say it out loud because that's OPSEC, but best base ever.
Yeah, it's a good one. So
Tucker, we're just kind of talking about finances and relationships.
Yes, I want to hear this.
You want to hear my side of it? Can you guys hear me all right? Okay.
Yeah,
I can't tell
perfect, bro.
because this is my first time in here, so I have my pods in. I'm not sure if my mic is in my pods or if it's on the iPad. So, you think it's on there? Okay. So my view, I changed my entire life financially about 5 years ago, and I was living in, prior to changing my life financially, I was living in debt, and I was doing just the round robin toxic money cycle of America. And it's absolutely toxic, right? Like it's everything is based on a credit score. Everything is based on just take this much out, affirm your payments, do these things, and your life's going to be great because you're going to have the nicest, newest things on the planet, and you're going to, here's the biggest thing, man, you're going to be buying things with money you don't have to impress people you don't even like, for things you don't even need, and it's a constant cycle. So I decided to break that cycle, and I actually found Dave Ramsey on the radio, and I had this epiphany where this 30-year-old guy got on, because I was about 30 at the time, and he was saying, man, I got all this debt, I got all these problems, and blah blah blah. And man, Dave just chewed his ass, right, and told him, like, this is what you got to do, brother. You can't keep living like this. And it just like struck a chord with me. And I said, I'm going to read this guy's book. So I read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, and it was like an IED went off, right? I'm like, whoa, what have I been doing? And I just went off the rails and just started doing the program. And in 11 months, I paid off $40,316 and of debt. I paid off. I mean, I had a camper, I had a pickup, I had a jet ski, I had a motorcycle, I had credit cards. I think there was, I owed a family loan in there. And I basically made the decision, cut up all my credit cards, paid everything off, and completely broke up with debt. Like, never, ever again am I going to do that. And that decision alone completely changed my life. And now, 5 years later, I mean, if anytime I meet anybody that's struggling, and I know that we're talking about relational stuff, which I'll talk about with you guys also, because I got a lot of views on that. But it completely changed my life doing this. And now 5 years later, I don't worry about money whatsoever. It's more of it's a joy to get paid than it is to get paid and know that it's going to somebody else or a bank. And when you're talking about relationally, the number one reason, like I think I heard you say, Warlord, was that the number one reason for divorce in America is finance. And that's absolutely true. I went through Ramsey's, after I did the program, I went and did his other program, Financial Coach Master Training. So technically I'm a trained coach, but I'm not very patient with individuals. And I'm a very yeah. And I'm not very patient. So I get upset because I tell people, like I would sit down with what would be a prospective client and they would tell me their issues and I can clearly see a path out of this problem. And I'm like, okay, listen, here's what we got to do. Number one, first thing on the agenda, we got to address this $980 Tahoe payment. And they're like, I ain't selling my Tahoe. And it's like, okay, well, you can't keep living the way you're living if you want to get a better life. You can't keep doing what you're doing to get what you always got, right? And then it's another client when it comes down to the relational side of the wife wants to be out of debt and she wants that bad, but the husband's just off the rails, right? Like he's just spending and he's going and buying all sorts of stuff. Oh yeah, that's you, huh? And so the husband's off the rails. So it's too difficult for them to get on the same like cycle. And that's what I would try to help them. And that's my story of personal finance. But now the relational side of things, my view is that you guys, number one, need to sit down and budget together. Okay, that's the only way that you're going to be successful. It's not my money and her money. It's our money. When you got married, you didn't say, this is my marriage and this is your marriage. This is our marriage, right? So I'm not married. I'm engaged at the moment. But we did the Dave Ramsey program separately. I was out of debt. We met. And then I told her my story. And she was like, that's amazing. Like, I kind of want to try that too. So she got up and did it. And she paid off $40,000 in 13 months. And she paid off $40,000 in 13 months. And now we live together and we have zero debt. Besides a mortgage, because that's his program is baby step 6. So my house should be paid off next year, but we got the wedding and stuff. So I only have a little bit left on that. But we don't combine finances yet because we're not married, but we talk about everything together. Like right now, I'm looking at a boat and I already have a boat, but we want a bigger boat and we're going to go pay cash for this boat. And even though I'm not married to her at the moment, I'm engaged to her. I'm treating her that way where I'm not just going to go and drive to Minnesota and buy this boat. Like I want to ask her, I want to see what she has to say about it. Even though our emergency funds are separate, our checking accounts separate, if she gets like Runza and I want to pay for it, I will Facebook pay her and whatnot. But once we get married, her money and my money are going to come together and it's going to be one account. She's going to join my account or I'm going to join hers. That's the only way it's going to work. And then we're going to sit down every month and we're like, right now we're running 2 separate budgets. So she has her budget and I have my budget. But when we get married, it's going to come together and we're going to sit down and have that meeting at the beginning of the month and we're going to draw down the budget. And I use Every Dollar as my budgeting app, but we're going to sit down and we're going to draw that budget up together and we're going to agree on certain things. And if I break her rules or her boundaries of, you can spend $300 at Cabela's this month. And if I go spend $375 at Cabela's that month because I had a plan to go buy certain baits and I had whatever, you know, she's probably gonna be a little mad because I lied to her when I told her I was only gonna spend $300. So you've got to work together 100%. Your money's got to, this is my view, my opinion. A lot of people are going to say, no, we don't do that. It don't work for us. My view is it's got to be together. You've got to work together. And I seen the other guy on here. He was talking about how, was he saying that his wife or his woman was stay at home and he was the breadwinner? Even in that situation, that's our money. That's, you know, that's not his money. Because the problem with being in control and saying, I'm going to give you an allowance, and that's where I would push back on him, is even though she had a little financial infidelity on him, right? Because she went and did her whatever and went crazy. Even though that happened, they need to come back together and talk about that. But as long as he, in my view, would tell her, this is our money, babe, even though he's bringing it home 100%, she's still allowed to spend it however she wants, but they've got to work together on that, because as soon as he becomes God in the financial side of things, she's going to hate him, because he's going to be like, oh, I'm only going to give you $150 a month, and that's all you get to spend, but I make $6,000 a month, and I'm going to control it. And she's going to feel cooped up, and she's going to hate that. And I've talked to couples that way, and she can't stand it, and he's telling her what to do because I know what I'm doing, but then I come and say, well, then why are you in $72,000 worth of debt if you know what you're doing? You don't know what you're doing. You're lost. That's why you're talking to me, right? Like, I'm trying to help you. And at the end of the day, maybe that's my problem, is I wasn't patient enough with those people, because I'm like, listen, this is what you guys need to do. And I'm telling you the path forward. You have a couple different options, but this is the path I would take if I was you. And this is what I did when I was in your shoes. And when they choose to not do those things, I say, okay, you have a nice life. I'm going to move on, because I can't help you. You don't want to, you got to hit bottom. It's like sobriety. I hit 5 years sober, and I didn't try to get sober until I hit that bottom. And that bottom financially is when you realize I've had it. Like, I've had this moment. I'm done. I can't keep going forward any longer. And relationally, I mean, you've got to work together on these things. You've got to combine finances. You've got to sit down and budget together. You've got to do these things, because you're not going to be financially stable if one person's off being rogue and spending whatever they want and coming at the end of the month on their bank account and being like, honey, I'm broke. I need some of your money. And they're not talking. And it gets confusing. And it's just, if you know the number one reason for divorce in America is personal finance in your marriage, why wouldn't that want to be one of the first things you try to get right? Like, come on now. Like, the statistics tell us that. It's the number one reason when you sit down with divorced couples or people going through divorce, they go, what's the problem? It's not he cheated on me. It's he's spending too much money. Well, stop doing that. Just sit down and work together and budget, All right. I'm off my soapbox.
Nah, man. I thought it was super, super important. Keep the soapbox, man. Still live there. I think the hard part, though, is that usually experience is required. I heard you on multiple occasions talk about instances where you yourself experienced something that triggered a response out of you. And I think the issue, unfortunately, is most people, more likely than not, because they either haven't experienced it or unfortunately have become acclimated to that detrimental state, they have just become accustomed to the bottom, right? People usually say, once you hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go, and that's up. And I always respond with, unless you like living there. Like, I hate to say it, but like I got clients where they hit rock bottom and I say, all right, well, I'm going to do this. We're going to make this deal. You'll be able to get out, whatever. And then they become a regular. And unfortunately, that is more applicable more often than not than in other aspects of life. So it's tough, and especially, again, I was talking to Warlord about this earlier. It's especially the times are getting harder. About inflation's real, and it's just now because the new financial burden that has developed for Americans, it's made struggling the new norm. And if you don't have that discipline, or if you don't have someone, a financial advisor that you're willing to talk to and actually listen to, then bottom's all you got.
Yeah, the money culture, like I was saying earlier, the toxic money culture that we live in is it's disgusting. I've opened my eyes to simple things like, yes, inflation is making things harder to acquire now, right? And homes are more expensive. And like, there's a home down the street from me that 3-4 years ago was 275,000, and they got it listed for 500. And it's a little acreage. It's on the side of town, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, what is going on? I forgot where I was going with that. So the toxic money culture that we live in is ridiculous in the fact that this is my view and my opinion of credit scores. Okay. So the credit score is basically how well do you interact with debt? How much debt do you have? Let's see, what's the other one? So you got how much debt do you have and how well do you interact with it? Do you pay it back? And how much more debt are you going to get? And it's all based around debt. Do you want to continue living your life owing money to somebody else? And if anybody looks at that and answers that question, oh yeah, of course. I mean, I would love to keep paying for my iPhone. Like I love my $20 a month payments. I love paying $700 a month for this car. Let me do some math for you real quick. $700 a month from the age of 35 to 60 years old in a Roth IRA. That car payment, that nice little Tahoe you got in the driveway is costing you about $1.6 million, because that's what that would be. That's what that would become if you wouldn't have that payment. If instead you invested that money and you did the right things with it and you didn't have debt and you adjusted your lifestyle and you did those things, you wouldn't have to struggle so hard. So to be honest with you, inflation to me at this moment, and I make a median income. Like I work for Union Pacific Railroad, and everybody thinks it's such a great job. But really, I mean, it's a median income. And like, I don't even think about inflation. It's not even on my radar. I might notice that bread is an extra $1 or something. Okay, whoop-de-doo. I don't care. I just make my budget for my groceries a little bit more. But I'm still having all that extra money at the end of the month to put into savings, to put on my home, or to buy a boat, and that's the plan. So like the way that we're told is to just stay in debt, be in debt, live in debt, keep making those payments, and just don't worry about it because you're going to have the nicest things, is killing America. Absolutely killing America. Look at our student loan debt. Look at the student loan programs out there. We got federal backed student loans that are, I don't know the number right now of what student loan is. It's $1.7 trillion or something like that. And we've got these people in government that are wanting to forgive student loans, which, okay, great. You want to do that. Who's going to pay for that, right? That's going to be us. That's going to be us three right here. So we're going to pay for those student loans. And then they're going to forgive these student loans. We're going to end up paying for it. But yet, if you had such a problem that you had to forgive them and it was killing our country and killing our young people financially, literally it's a gun to their head. They're blowing their brains out every day with this stuff. And you think it's such a big problem that we need to forgive it because it's affecting our economy so bad, but you're still going to sit there and make those same loans? What is wrong with you? If I kept punching you in the mouth and you were like, dang, this hurts like really bad, and I ask you to forgive me, and you're like, okay, dog, I forgive you, and then I punch you in the mouth again, that's not right. So why would the government keep making loans that they're trying to forgive people for? It's stupid. It's absolute stupidity. It doesn't make any sense. Our money culture, not only in the personal side of things, but in the federal government side of things. Who's the federal government to be out here telling us what to do with our money and forgiving student loans when we've got trillions of dollars in national debt? They don't know. Congress don't know how to do it. That's what people say things like, I'm going to spend like Congress, because Congress don't know what they're doing. They're out there blowing our money left and right. They blow the budget every year. It's a joke.
I want to ask something, because I guess my worry is this. My worry is, in a relationship, it's about the compromise. And I get ultimately the point. The ultimate goal, obviously, is to not have to live in that. But I know earlier JP was talking about a relationship in which they pretty much shared all expenses, and one was just in a more financially stable position than the other, and as a result, one was struggling more. And I want to compare what you're bringing up now when it comes to the national debt and the excessive spending. I guess my question ultimately boils down to we can pick who we fall in love with, but we can't necessarily pick certain habits, right? I mean, and I guess my worry is this. My worry is if you found a person who you truly valued, and yet you have to unfortunately acknowledge that, like, hey, maybe they are just bad with money. Would that be an instance where you would just have to talk as a couple and say, hey, look, maybe I'm going to be the one that's responsible for the money? Or is that a deal breaker for you? I mean, again, you are engaged. I don't mean to necessarily apply you in this particular scenario, but maybe you early on, or you in another timeline. That's what I always say to my wife, in another timeline. But what for you is financial responsibility something that would be a deal breaker? And if it is discovered that one of the partners is struggling in that category, would it just be a matter of, just like with infidelity is counseling, we go talk to someone, we try to work on it together, something like that?
So you weren't born knowing how to talk, right? So you weren't born knowing how to manage personal finance. Neither was I. I was totally imperfect. I had all the toys and everything. In that situation, there's two problems there. She may be bad financially and not know what she's doing, but when you do come together because you love her and you want to make things work, and you sit her down openly and try not to control her and say, don't come at it as a attack because I did this in a prior relationship and it ultimately failed because I found I was not with her when I started Dave Ramsey and doing these things. And in that relationship, I was so intense about it because she was financially bad. I was financially bad, but I seen the light. So I started changing and I wanted to change my life. But I did that. I came at her like, we're going to do this and I'm in control. And I promise you, it's going to be the best thing ever. And it's going to be, we're going to change everything. And she was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I'm not having you control me. And what you're saying is that, say that again?
I was just saying that the hard push. Yep, you generate a lot of pushback when you're aggressive. At least in my experience.
Yeah. So
I was just wondering what you're saying.
Yeah, you don't want to come at them like that because that don't work. And you want to come at it in a perspective in that situation. You would want to say, hey, babe, you sit her down and you'd say, hey, where do you see us in 5 years if we keep on this path? How do you think we're going to grow our retirement or be able to live 20 years from now or 30 years from now when we go to retire? What are your goals and dreams? What do you want to do? What do you see yourself doing? And then when she gives you these goals and dreams, she says, I want to go to Cabo twice a year and I want to do these things. Say, well, honey, that's not really going to be possible the way that the path we're kind of going down. It's not going to happen. So she's going to have to learn your way, but you, whether it's the male or the female coming to the other partner, you've got to, like when I say work together, this is getting a little more in depth. You got to come at her softly, which was a struggle for me. And it still is today, trying to be soft. Because when I set my mind on something, I'm like, that's what we're doing. That's just how I am. And you've got to come together and you got to realize hopes and dreams and goals and things that you want to do and try to have her understand. And you sit down and try to work these things out. Now, if she still financially does not want to do that, then we have a marriage problem, right? It's not a financial problem anymore. It's a marriage problem. So you may have to sit down with a marriage counselor and talk out some other issues that's going on. Maybe she feels like it's something outside of finance that's upsetting her. That's really not the problem when it comes to finance. It's your need to control somebody is affecting her want to be on your side. She may want to be personally, financially responsible, but she doesn't really know how, but she doesn't, and she wants it, but you're so controlling over it that she's upset at your attitude towards it and towards her. So you've got to come at her softer than that and try to reason with her or reason with him and say, where do you see us? Where do you want to go in life? Like, how can we build that future together and bring our money together and do these things together and ultimately retire wealthy and have all of these things we want. Because if we continue down the path we're on, I don't think we're going to get there. So what can we do to change it? And if she still responds or he still responds like, well, I mean, I don't care. Well, then that's not a financial problem. That's a marriage problem. So you've got to get some counseling marriage wise to fix that side of things. Because that's really ultimately a marriage problem. It's not financial anymore. Because when they don't want to get on board with something logical and rational and something that is ultimately going to massively benefit your family and could possibly create generational wealth. When I say generational, it means your wealth continues to grow. You're drawing off your retirement. You still have your principal in there and you die. Now that money goes to your children and they generationally inherit that money. And you made your kids wealthy because you raised your kids the right way, because you and your wife are on the same page on the finance, and your kids are raised properly and they understand the value of a dollar and working hard and staying out of debt and doing the right things and not owing the man. And generationally, you're building your family tree. And it all starts with you guys coming together and talking about what are our issues, what are the problems, and how do we make them better, and how do we do these things together. Not, I'm going to tell you what to do. You need to listen to me, because that ain't going to work.
Yeah, we got Godbody. Godbody's been making comments about, it's
kind of co-signing some co-signing some
yeah,
um
yeah. I guess well, and let's address that, because I do think we do need to talk about that at a certain point. How this notion of the prototypical man leading, and I know maybe it's just hyperbole, or maybe there's some essence of that people actually do view to be true. And I guess the notion is this. This isn't, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're not implying that this is something that necessarily has to be resolved by the man of the relationship, or the more, I mean, I don't want to necessarily associate a gender to it, but just this can be embraced by either partner, correct? And I guess that's ultimately the main point that I'm trying to stress. I do apologize. I'm not trying to be that guy. I just want to expand it so that this applies not only to
well,
all
it
relationships.
sounds like what Tucker was saying, like whoever it's stemming from, honestly. But I mean, I agree closer to what Godbody was saying. I agree. I feel like it's on me to kind of put us on the right path. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna lead the family overall, and this is my beliefs. It's like I'm gonna lead the family overall. I'm going to hear her suggestions, and definitely, we talk about it because she's a part of you. The way that I look at it. But then, overall, I feel like it's down to you to make the best financial decision that you feel is right for your family, and she should support it. If you make it a bunch of dumb decisions that you think is right, it's on you to like, maybe I need a break. Maybe, let's try this your way. And if we're both messing up, let's look for some outside help. That's the way I look at it. So that's definitely not dismissing what your wife has to say. No, because to me, once you're married, she's a part of you. And also, really quick, from what Tucker was saying, and from what Godbody was saying, I definitely learned in my marriage, if I wanted to get through a conversation, when I was married, a heavy conversation, especially if it was something we weren't agreeing on, obviously, we, I realized with my ex, I had to come at her. The hell was that? With the softer approach sometimes, and sometimes some people might look at it as manipulation. I don't. If I feel like it's something that's good for her, like say she was bored, and I'm like, well, you should try a hobby. She's like, nope, I don't want to do that. But then if she was like, well, I'm bored all the time, and if I would have came like, well, I don't think you should get a hobby. That doesn't sound like a good idea. Then she's like, well, I think I'm going to get a hobby. You know what I'm saying? So I had to I had to take
Jedi
some
mind trick.
approaches like, well, it wasn't even trying to be a mind trick. Some things was clear it was healthy for her or for the both of us, but just whatever combination of things, her past or whatever, it was just hard for her to agree with people. Her own mom, her own friends sometimes.
I get that, man. And I guess the only reason I wasn't pushing back, I guess I was pushing back because I don't want the notion to be alluded to. I don't want it to come off that financial stability is only a byproduct of a man or a male leader in the household. And I guess that's kind of what some of the and again, he was probably joking. I don't know. But I guess that's the reason why I wanted to push back is because generally speaking, financial responsibility isn't exclusively a quality or a trait of a particular gender. It requires, again, as Tucker said it earlier, it is something that is ingrained upon you through extensive work, right? It becomes secondhand after you have acknowledged that it is a deficit and you have went about, pursuing some type of remedial help. So again, whether it is, a relationship that is just now, blossomed into a marriage, or whether it has been years of growing into something beautiful, it doesn't necessarily require any particular person to be a financial leader or accountant. It just requires cooperation, compromise, and some type of oriented goal towards that. That is uniform, that both sides are actively, contributing towards, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was looking at his comment and he's saying, that Godbody said that women will never love a soft man. And let me tell you, I've been a high D person, which is like a direct, most Marines, most military guys, we're all like, we get out and we're like, man, I'm the boss. Shut your mouth. And you get this mentality and it's hard to not be that guy, but when if that mentality gets you into multiple failed relationships because you're beating up your woman, not physically, but like you're just telling her I'm the boss and I'm going to do everything. Yeah. You're just the king, right? Like just, I'm the king. You don't matter. It ain't going to work. Like you can be a good leader, but being a good leader might be being soft in times. And I really struggle with that. But I also have to realize at the same time that I could quit my job. I could be Mr. Stay-at-home dad. And what do I do in that situation? If I quit my job or I got fired and I had to stay at home and she can support me and I'm sitting at home, how am I going to be the high D, I'm the boss guy when I'm not even bringing the money in and we're not working together? It's just, now I'm going to be mad at her because she's treating me like I'm a nobody, but yet, it ain't going to work because being soft isn't always a bad thing. And I'm trying to teach myself that, that I don't think because I'm soft that she's going to cheat on me. It's
funny, brother, that you bring that up because Warlord Warlord remembers young Andre, and I ran hot often, and recently, there was an opposing attorney who, and I'm not going to talk disparagingly about him. I will just say that he didn't necessarily display traits, qualities, or attributes that you would associate with a brute, right? He was very much, when you think of, this is obviously an attorney, he had all those qualities. Like there was nothing about him that was physically demanding. And I remember he didn't necessarily like an approach that I took for a particular case. And he kind of got loud with me in the courtroom. And I'm looking at him and I'm talking to him regular. And, after it was resolved, he called me and apologized. But after it was resolved, a few of the attorneys were like, yeah, can you believe that guy got bucked with Alex? And I kind of laughed and I'm like, dude, what would you want me to do? Like,
who's Alex?
Oh, my bad. Andre. Yeah, my bad. But no, like they asked, they're like, did you see him get bucked with Andre? And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? I'm like, I'm not gonna. Did you hire an attorney so that I could fold another attorney in the courtroom?
Yeah,
like, is that really? You know what I mean? And huh?
You should have snatched him up by his top button, like has top button against his esophagus, bro.
I don't know. I've just become aware that like in most things in life, one, and maybe this is just because of particularly my profession, is usually not worth it. Like if it has to get physical, usually it's not worth it because odds are someone's going to jail. Generally speaking, someone's going. But also at the same time, it's never personal. Like, and I think, hey, you know, Mrs. Hamilton says, hey, Andre, you're trash with money. You got to get it together. I can't take that personally as a slight against my masculinity or against whatever it is that I attach this trait that she just attacked to. Ultimately, we have to display the humility necessary in order to make a functional union, man. Like it's ultimately that. Like marriages don't last because you embrace this bravado that requires for you to be the leader, period, without questions, without any type of pushback. I mean, and again, I'm not gonna 15 years, I'm grateful for them, but it's not perfect. I know she could probably have her own, you know, panel with Warlord and say, oh my gosh, 15 years with this idiot, you know, but like all merriment aside, I think it just boils down to when it comes to something like this, and as important as it is, you got to be aware that what's most important is the sustainability of the marriage, right? And if that requires you to take a step back because maybe, you know, the numbers aren't numbering or the math's not mathing, that should be something that you're willing to do, not because you need to clean the control or what have you. So I'm off my soapbox.
I'm still here.
Yeah, my woman's sitting here cooking dinner and she's listening and she's like, I want to get in there so bad. I want to do it. And I'm like, no, you stay in the kitchen. You stay in there.
I'm laughing, but I'm slowly scooting away from my missus because she's like, you like that joke way too much. You chill out.
Yeah, no, she's like, I want to say something.
I'm laughing too, bro. But the cooks in this house is so I gotta say that to myself.
As I'm over here trying to like, hey, you need to be soft. I'm like, you stay in there. But no, I
can't be soft. I can't be.
No, I seen Godbody's comment again. You know, he's saying that we can be soft and loving to our woman, but we've got to be hard men. I totally agree with that. I'm not like, I mean, I wouldn't say totally, but like, what?
What? She couldn't hide that one. She couldn't hide it. It was heard clearly.
Marine, y'all. He is a Marine. He's not going to change his ways, but I still love him and I'm still submissive to him. Does he piss me off? Absolutely.
You could say I think she agrees. Yo, this is hilarious. Yo, the military wife, we got to have another episode. We got to have a round 2, Warlord. This is ridiculous.
That's fine. I mean, we're technically still on the first question, I think. First subject, so that's fine.
Hour 18, we're not on the first question.
I mean, honestly, Tucker kind of got into the second one, which was kind of just talking about, do we truly share financial knowledge with each other? And then it was going to kind of get back into relationships and money. And Tucker kind of hit on that because I can tell you for sure, like, what was it? I think, was it my birthday? It was for something, or either or I was mad about something. And Tucker's like, I'm going to send you something. I'm going to send you something this way. So I was like, ooh, what's he going to send me? What's he going to send me? And I got it. It was a book. I was like, what the hell is this? And I looked at it. I was like, you know, I appreciate that. Because, well, I mean, because come from Tucker, I know how important that was to him. You know, so I was like, you know, I appreciate it. You know, I definitely got it. I read through it slowly, very slow, but because I'm just not a reader, I will fall asleep.
Barely read.
Yeah, it's you know, if I find
Read
something
that.
that I know works for me, I want to try and share it for other people that I care about. You know,
Right.
and like, I just want them to be successful. Like, I want my knowledge to be. I mean, and I want that from other people. That's why, when I am looking at this bow, I don't know about this specific bow, but I'm trying to get that knowledge from somebody else. And I want to learn things about this item because I may not know everything. I may be handy, but I don't know everything. So I went to a group of people, which we have this amazing thing, the Facebooks, and we get on there and we go to a group there's 1,300 people in there that own this specific item, and you question, hey, I'm a dummy and I need some help. And these guys came back, gave me lots of information on this thing, and we can do that with anything in our life. There's almost no, because we have access to the interwebs, that there's no excuse why you can't be good at almost anything. Because if you set your mind to one item and you're like, I want to learn how to weld, you could go on YouTube and spend 50 hours watching how to weld in your garage, and you could turn and you'd probably be pretty good if you just pay attention.
Right.
So, you know, sharing knowledge and stuff with each other about money is very important. That's why when Larry's been trying to get me to get on, but I was either traveling for work and I'm all stinky in my car, or, you know, whatever it may be, I'm like, no, I can't. No, I'm not gonna. But then he said, oh, he's going to be talking about money. I'm like, okay.
I got you.
I want to say something here, because it's like nobody's, even if only 3 people see this, it's like maybe one of those 3 people will hear what I have to say and be like, man, maybe I should look that book up, or maybe I should talk to my wife a little softer because I'm being a dick right now.
Yeah. And I think the funny thing about this is Warlord, I know initially Warlord kind of got me into, I didn't necessarily want to do this, but I think you get more from doing it. You get more from talking about it and becoming self-aware of your stances and weaknesses that you have in that particular stance. So I think this is beneficial for all parties involved. But
I do kind of look at it as a little bit of therapy, just a little bit of thought. Sorry about that. Go ahead, man. I mean,
yeah, don't let it happen again. But
yeah, I'll kill you. I mean, I'll tickle you. No Diddy.
Oh, you got 40 minutes until your favorite event's coming up, Warlord. 38.
Yeah. By the way, really quick, y'all, like, y'all don't have to stay in here. I figured I was gonna connect the debate and do my commentary on it. Not expecting anybody staying here that long, because that's gonna be forever. But I'm gonna take a little potty break and then probably put the debate on one of these, or on the side screen. It's up to y'all.
Okay, so I haven't even, be honest with you, I thought I was on muted there for a second. I haven't even been following the political side so much. I mean, I'm on TikTok and I see the occasional funny videos, but I'm not into it like that hard, you know. Like I worry about what happens in my house more than the White House for the most part.
That's real. Yeah. That's a bar.
And so, but it doesn't mean I don't want nothing to do with it, because the fact that we could get a candidate in office that, for the most part, may not change your life directly, but at the same time, if they're hardcore on a policy that you really care about, it could affect your life. So I do somewhat pay attention, but I'm not. I try not to let it bother me too hard. I don't get too upset.
Like
people.
God
body's wild. I just need to say that God body's wild.
I do be in the house raging when it comes to politics, man. I'll be mad. Man, people are idiots. Blah blah blah. I'll be cussing people out and stuff, but you know, I'll be here by myself.
Yeah, there's times when I snap certain things, and I'm like, how do you not see that everywhere you go, motherfuckers are like, Trump, this dude, and you see the guys walking around with the thing and asking people all over the U.S., who you voting for? Trump. Who you voting for? Trump. And then all of a sudden, you're on TikTok and there's lives and it's just solid red hearts, right? It's just red hearts, Trump 2020.
Solid red hearts.
Trump 2020. You know, and like, you're like, how is it even possible that it could go blue? But somehow, right? I don't know, magic, right? There's just
this took a turn.
Hey, by the way, just as a side note, I thought maybe you'd find that funny, Larry. Did you see which this is totally off topic, but did you see Afghanistan? They had their big parade, they had their thing over the anniversary.
They were wearing like all our stuff. They were wearing all of our stuff. Yeah,
that's wild.
I mean,
they're wearing.
Funny wasn't the emotion I had, but
they're driving MRAPs and flying Black Hawks, and they're walking around in Digis, and you know they're carrying our weapons.
Say, they'll never what they say. They'll never figure out how to fly the Black Hawks. Yeah, okay.
Go to
Yes, I do.
YouTube. I just talked about it. You'll learn how to fly a Black Hawk.
They YouTube everything. They are experts.
I'm gonna if I do that, I'm gonna end up finding somebody random at a dang gas station that I think is looking at me wrong. I'm gonna start something with them. I can't do it.
Warlord, you can't say Warlord. Why you can't say please?
Well, I mean, I'm staying home. I'm gonna take the piss off if I do it. Is that fair?
You can go to play some video games. You can't do shit like that. You can go play Space Marine 2. Go shoot some aliens. Go chill out.
I might have to.
Yo, that's crazy. Sheesh. Well, I got prepared for my friend. I do. I want to say again, honestly, it was a pleasure to meet you, sir. I look forward to future episodes with you, Warlord. You're my bro. Always good. I appreciate the opportunity, man. This is always fun. Just learn a little bit more about myself, a little bit more about others from their experiences. So I do appreciate it. I will jump back to hear your ridiculous takes when it comes to this debate. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna say some spicy thing. Don't make that face. You know you're gonna say something crazy. You say one or two comments that are crazy. You always say a few. Don't act like you don't. You're gonna say something wild. Maybe about Kamala's middle name or something. I don't know. You're gonna do something. You're gonna do something. So I will be there just to do a disclaimer. These are all jokes. It's comedy, not to be taken serious. I'm just saying, hey.
As soon as she says something like she's some of this, I'm gonna start pointing to that.
She's gonna pull.
There you go.
She's gonna start talking. She's gonna start talking like it too. That's what she likes to do.
Okay, all right. Yeah. These are all jokes.
How y'all doing today?
Oh man, I came on stage. They had a whole thing of. They had chitlins and everything down here.
Oh my god, this is jokes. Everyone can eat chitlins. Everyone, for the record, as Warlord's attorney, anyone can eat chitlins. It's not exclusive to one group. Anyone can. They're delicious. You should try them.
Oh my lord! It's just I know what he's saying. I do too. When I do tune in and I see it, I'm like, oh America, you're so blind. This is just
exactly. Mimi.
Yes, Mimi. I was gonna stream it on here. I was gonna stay on and stream it on here, Mimi. I'm gonna stream someone else's. They can't sue me because I'm gonna be doing commentating, so they can't have it taken down or strike.
Good Lord, buddy. All right, my friend. I'll be back in a little bit. Let me get ready for court tomorrow. I'll be back. Take care, my friend.
All right. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Later.
Well, I got you, Tucker. Unless you gotta go, can I ask you if there's anything else that you learned from Dave Ramsey's program that you might think isn't like a well-known thing, something that's not shared a lot, but it's big. But it's like maybe something if we sat down and thought about it hard enough, we'd be like, that makes sense.
Well, just basically living by his principles, are totally countercultural to the way that America lives, and that's the way I chose to go. Is it was totally against the way I was living, and I said, I'm doing it this way, so I want to do it this way. So a lot of things, are very extreme, and that's hard for people to soak up. Car payments are a joke. Cut up your credit cards. They ain't helping nobody but the credit card companies. Things that would be a little something that would be kind of off the rails. A lot of people don't think about. We just talked about like marriage and money. There's really nothing crazy. It's just a totally countercultural program that gets you out of debt, gets you away from debt, and teaches you how to handle your money by budgeting properly and doing the right things on a daily basis, which is hard. I mean, there's times I struggle with, like, I see certain items and I'm like, man, I'm getting this boat. I want a new trolling motor, but that trolling motor is $2,700. So I can't just go out and buy that too. And I battle with it all the time. But as of, anything that really doesn't make sense or something that's totally different, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. It's just a different way of living, man. It's just a different way of living.
Right. No, yeah, bro. I can definitely agree with that. And the the little bit I read and talking to you, it's made me think about some things. Like I told you before, it's like me, I can be impulsive, like sometimes certain things, I try not to not frequent my gun store too much, or I try to frequent it every so often, mainly just to talk. And he knows me. If he has something new that catches my eye, he'd be like, "You want to hold it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to hold it." And he'll take it off the shelf and he'll put it in my hands. Next thing I know, I'm either buying it or putting it on layaway.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
I was
And
like,
that's
I got to stop doing those things.
you need to understand that about yourself, because that's your thing, man. That's your like addiction, right? And putting
Right.
yourself in those situations. Like, I love vehicles, I love toys. That's why I'm going to look at a boat. That's why I'm doing these things. um I love vehicles and trucks and stuff, but I have a great truck that I put a lot of time and effort into. But I purposely don't put myself in the situation of going to the dealership and walking around to even look at the new trucks to see how nice they are. Because if I put myself in that situation, I might possibly, which I highly doubt, but I might possibly have a salesman pitch me so good that I'm like, you know what? If I did trade my truck in, I don't have any debt. So I have an excellent credit score at the moment until it drops off after my home gets paid off. But I mean, I can afford these payments. But then my mind I've trained myself, just like in the military, I've trained myself enough to turn around and go, wait a minute, what's the opportunity cost? That's one thing I could say about Dave Ramsey. Think about the opportunity cost of anything in your life. What opportunity are you losing by choosing to do this or that? So by taking on a truck payment or by taking on any payment, you are essentially giving up the opportunity to invest that money to grow your wealth, and it's going to go down in value. So you've invested, say, $50,000 or $80,000, whatever these brand new trucks are. They're just nuts, man. They're nuts. And you buy that truck, and it goes down in value when you could have taken that payment and kept your paid off vehicle. And if you were to take that payment and like I said, go the course of your lifetime until the day you retire, how much would that have grown with compounding interest in your investment accounts? Let's say it's $1 million. That truck in your driveway is beautiful, but it cost you $1 million. You gave up the opportunity cost. You gave up the opportunity to have $1 million because you want to have a payment your entire life. You don't got to have a payment your entire life. You just don't. Don't give that opportunity up. It's not worth it.
Right. What about, okay, so say,
Oh, we lost him. Looking like it's just me now. So, but yeah, opportunity cost is a big thing. You definitely don't want to give up that opportunity. And there's a lot of people that are just going to argue and say, well, I just want a new vehicle because I don't want to deal with the stress of having a used vehicle and having to work on it. But I promise you, if you do the math over the course of time, you're going to spend a lot less money doing repairs on that used vehicle.
what happened?
There you go.
I don't know what happened. Anyways, um, oh yeah, it's weird, but one of the things I also like doing, I like starting small businesses. I like investing into new small businesses and seeing everything go in motion and it start to run itself. It's a weird hobby, but say I wanted to start a business that's gonna cost me, say, maybe 300,000. Um, I guess what would be like your take or your view to at least start on that road?
Of Hey, buddy. Of starting that business.
Yeah, say it's gonna cost like two or 300,000.
Well, you're going to the problem with that is that you're going to need to you can mitigate risk by starting a business from the ground up. If you start from the sky down, there's a ton of risk. And it's the same thing as real estate, right? So we can all watch guys on TikTok and YouTube that are buying properties, and which would be like starting a business, but you're investing in the business by, let's say you're getting a business loan. You're buying a property or getting a home loan, and you are essentially hoping that you could buy that rental property for $250,000, get a renter in there that'll make your mortgage payment and pay that home off for you. That all sounds wonderful, right? Nobody figures in risk. Everybody just thinks that that's going to work out perfectly. Why don't you go look at the videos of the tenants that have completely destroyed a home and cost the homeowner $50,000? And then they didn't make their mortgage payment for 6 months, but the person couldn't kick that, the renter couldn't get kicked out because of the laws in that state. And it ends up costing the homeowner 50 grand when they can't even afford their mortgage payment, because on the other side, they're so far in debt and they have their own mortgage and they have all their own car payments and they have all their own credit cards that they can't even afford to make the mortgage on that home when they got it. But the bank said they could because they messed with their finances and made it look like they could. And now the risk that they didn't figure into the equation happened to them, and it totally destroys them financially. The same thing with a business. If you get $275,000, now I'm not a business guy. I never will be a business guy to start my own business. That's just, I'm not an entrepreneur. Maybe real estate one day, but for right now, I just see myself living personally, growing my accounts, and retiring with paid off home, estate, whatever it is, and having a couple $1 million in the bank in retirement accounts. If I want to go buy some real estate and have some rental income, I might do that. But doing your business from the ground up would be starting small and getting big, would mitigate the risk that you are going to incur by starting that business, because we know that the majority of small businesses in America do fail. And a lot of that is because they indebt themselves and the business doesn't go as well, and they go under because they can't make the payments on the business loan. And then the business gets essentially repossessed like a car, and they liquidate the business and everything in the brick and mortar spot that you have because you can't make your payments. So why don't you try and mitigate your risk by starting small and working your way up from there? Because that way you won't be so at risk of starting big. Now that's hard to tell a lot of people, because they see these people on TikTok, they see the social media, they see the things where I just bought 3 houses and I have $1 million in mortgages, but yet all my mortgages are getting paid. I'm halfway done. And it's like they give you this perfect story. And could that essentially happen to you? Yes, it could, but it's not guaranteed. So the risk you're willing to take is all on you. It's just like investing. But I'm invested in accounts that over the course of 30 years have done the same thing consistently. I'm taking less risk by diversifying a portfolio and working my way up slowly by investing that money and letting it grow. But starting a business like that from the ground up is really the way I would want to see you do that. If you're going to start that business, is starting from the ground up, not from the sky down, because you could fall hard and slam against the ground. If you build a solid ladder to climb up, even though the ladder doesn't get any higher because maybe that one business didn't go well, you may have some equity in the business that you have because you don't owe nobody nothing. And if you got a better idea or you've got a better plan, you could start again with the equity that you've built in that business, instead of slamming against the ground because you started up here and you couldn't fly your way down properly, you know?
I agree. Yeah, it's like, so me, I'm the type of person, I've always been like, I'm never gonna sit there and be like, this isn't a movie. I'm not going to risk or gamble, my life savings or my last penny on this business, blah 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 blah. Hopefully it blows up and then magically blows up and gets big and stuff like that. No, I've never been that way. And, honestly, some things hadn't happened to me, I might not have been in the position I was in as fast as I was in to even start investing in other people's businesses. But yeah, it's just like no, I can't. I'm too scary to take that big of a risk.
Yeah.
And I definitely do agree with the start small, let that build you some put away money, put it together to where if you use it and lose it, it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to kill you. Yeah, it's going to hurt on the inside, but it's not going to kill you.
Yeah. It's going to make you mad.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I would do. I mean, that's really the way I'm going to do it if I ever do real estate. I might start with a property that needs fixed up and it's cheaper. It's on the cheaper side. If I've got the cash to buy it, I'm going to try to buy that property outright, because then if my tenants don't make their payments, then I might be able, if they're good tenants, but they're in a bad financial situation, I might be able to help guide them and say, hey, here's this book. And would you read this book and I'll give you free 1 month, because I could bless them with that because I purchased that property with cash. And I could say,
Right.
if you read this book and come back to me at the end of the month, we'll talk about it and I'll give you a free month's rent, because I'm able to bless that person because I've started from the bottom and because I paid cash for that property, and I'm able to give them that 1 month to build their money back up, and they learn something maybe in the process, and then they become an even better tenant for me. But the only reason I was able to do that was by starting from the bottom and paying cash for that property and allowing them to learn and educate them if they are a good tenant prior. And maybe I'm able to do that for those people, because I had to learn the hard way, and I want to teach them because they're in the hard way and they need to learn the right way. And I would say, listen, this is what I did. Let me help you. And I'm able to bless you with a free month if you give me a book report, essentially, or we sit down and talk about this and tell me what you think. And, that's something you would be able to do if you start from the bottom. But if you start from the top and you got to make that mortgage payment and you got to make that $1,200 or whatever it is, and you're not going to want to give them a free month because you got to pay $1,200 on that,
Definitely not a bad way to look at it. Well, I mean, it's getting close to 9, so I'll throw my last question at you. I think Mr. JP's having some issues. So pretty much it was just that I was saying, what I write. So since the debate is tonight, I wanted to say, do we feel that Trump and or Kamala is in it for the money? Just kind of a bonus topic again, since the debate's here tonight. Is in it for money, or is it because they care, or could it be a little bit of both for either of them?
Okay. Well, I guess I should start off that I am biased. I am.
Really quick, can I interrupt you really quick? They want to know. I've seen it a few times. They want to know how many years were you in the Corps? I think the second or third time someone asked.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah, well, he was in for 5 years. All right, my bad, bro. Go ahead with your question or answer.
So I guess I should start with yes, I'm biased. I'm not an unbiased person. Like I'm going to vote for Trump. And when it comes to the power and the money, I don't know if I'm going to try to speak less bias on that, but I don't think that Kamala is in it for the money. I wouldn't think. I just think that I do think she is. I mean, who doesn't like the power, right? We've been talking about control and the need of control all night long. Who doesn't like having that much power? Because you can literally do almost whatever you want. And so is it for power? I think it's kind of, if you could look at it, you know what, you're making me think about it now. It's almost, I would think that Kamala would be more for the money and Trump would be more for the power. Because we know Trump don't need the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could see how maybe Kamala is in it for the money. Because there's a lot of backdoor deals that end up benefiting a candidate or a president.
Right.
And a lot of things that happen that is going to happen, essentially insider trading, that what's going to be going on. If a war's about, like the country doesn't know, but as a president that war's about to pop off and do something like Ukraine and Russia, and you find out that there's a certain contractor that may be providing weapons or something to those people, and you invest in them, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not a government conspiracy theorist so much per se, but like I could see where there'd be some benefits there for somebody as a president financially. But yeah,
I
I
definitely
think
tried following Pelosi's stock trades. I tried. I never paid attention to it fast enough, but I tried. Do you think that there's any care, actual care for the country from either one of them? And again, I don't like Nancy Pelosi, but it was everybody knew, it was obvious, like she had inside knowledge. So it's like,
yeah,
why not follow her stock trades?
yeah,
With Trump, he genuinely cares. Um, I think he also does it for the money in a certain aspect where, like, yeah, granted, he doesn't need the presidential pension, but it does reward him in other aspects, right? But at the same time, like, I think he genuinely does care about the freedoms of America and getting away from, like, the swamp of what we've had, the swamp of the government of what we've had, right? I think Kamala cares about her agenda, and she's proven what her agenda was when she was the district attorney in California. Like, she has proven herself and what her character is, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
main ploy is to gain control over the American people so she can continue her pre-existing agenda against the people. I think that's what I don't think it's so much money for Kamala as much as it is control to continue to push her agenda.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I definitely believe Trump is cares deeply about the country. Why else? If you didn't care, why else would you get shot and still continue to do that? Do you think that Kamala would have had the same reaction and the same after reaction as Trump in that moment, or in after the fact, like just debates and going out in public? And again, I think it would be totally different if she would have been shot like that. And Trump cares so much that he's like, go ahead, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna go out here and just be out in the open again. Most people, there'll be a lot of people, we've seen it in the Marine Corps, guys that weren't built to be in the infantry, guys that weren't built to get shot at. And they didn't want to get shot at no more once they got shot at once. And they just bailed. They're like, man, I can't do this no more. Like, I can't.
Yep.
I don't want to be doing it. I don't want to be around that shit no more. And I mean, I do think Trump cares. I think he cares a lot more than Kamala does. Like I said, I'm biased, but I mean, if I look at, like you're saying, her track record of what she's done, obviously, yeah, God by Trump doesn't have DNA; he has USA. Yeah, that's that. I
I
think
do follow that chat. I think you got three people that pretty much, for the most part, has the same view and agreements on this. So there's no opposing views here. Mr. Andre had to get ready for work, but he'll be back around the debate time. And I think even his wife is pretty much has the same thoughts that I do. So
I
if
mean,
there is a bias in the chat, you're welcome. You're welcome up. You're not going to get attacked.
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is it's almost. I mean, now here's the thing. So, like I said, it's like everybody I talk to, everybody I'm around is 100% for Trump. All the guys, but I'm a blue collar worker. I work in that industry. My lady tells me that in the white collar side, in the office, she sees a lot more people that are supportive of Biden and the Kamala side. And that's weird because I don't see that anywhere. I don't see it anywhere in public. But we also live in a very
Only surrounded by blue.
Say that again, Dippy.
I only surrounded by blue. So much so that
Oh.
we had a red candidate who wanted to come and speak with us.
Mhm.
Majority of the legislators did not agree to have the candidate come and speak with us because they all are anti-red and they're very blue. There's a
I
few
see.
of us that was like, no, we have to. Like, we have constituents that are red. Like, we have to be well-rounded. We have to hear people out. We have to have an open door policy. Like, there's a couple of us that fought for that, and we end up getting the candidate to be able to come in and stuff. But like, I'm surrounded by nothing but blue to the point it's borderline dictatory. It's kind of disgusting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I guess I have a fantasy mind. I always feel like not feel like how do I say it? I feel like let me come at this approach. I don't mind being married to somebody that has opposing political views than me. Religious, that might not work out so well, but political, I don't mind. I say it's healthy, just as healthy as somebody that has the same views, but you might not, you know, almost like you might not grow. You might not be able to debate about as much or talk about as much. And again, that's if y'all can actually talk about it. If y'all gonna be at each other's throats about it all the time, then no, that's not helpful.
I don't think I could do it.
I couldn't.
I don't no. I don't
Typically,
think
households are people. Typically, people personally vote for what benefits their family and their household. And if you're in a household with opposing views, how are you guys going to vote? Like, how is each of you going to vote personally for what benefits your family when you disagree on what benefits your family?
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true too. That's the thing. I guess just with me, it's never got to that point. Honestly, like you know, obviously I'm single now, but it's like uh, honestly, as far as like when it comes down to like family stuff, I think I've always, like raising kids and stuff. I've always dated somebody that pretty much agreed
Right.
as far as like the kids. So I guess I've just been fortunate in that aspect because definitely I haven't always dated people that had the same political beliefs. Um, so I've even had people on the first date where they would want to talk about it. I was like, I don't think that's a good idea if we're just trying to learn each other. It's like, yeah, we'll learn each other, and I know I can hear you say stuff I don't agree with, but I can still have an open mind. But I don't know if you can because I don't know you like that yet.
Like we have single issues in this country that divide people so distantly, bigly.
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 Are you reading comments?
Yeah. Like big separates us. And like Second Amendment, if I ever would have met a woman that within the first 3 dates said anything about how she didn't like the Second Amendment or didn't like guns or thought they were stupid or no.
She's out.
Yep.
She's out.
No, it's over.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No, I couldn't do that one.
Go to Gloss's comment. That one's hilarious.
How do you look them up on here? Can I only see the one? Oh no, I go to chat, huh?
I got multiple devices too.
Oh
yeah, there's a chat button.
Comments. Click on that and you can see them.
This one?
Yes, that's hilarious.
Oh, with the bigly part.
Yeah.
I swear they're flying around in here. I think they're coming through my attic. I need to check my attic later. Anyways.
Yep, it's all about so when we were talking about, it's kind of like melds it together, right? Like you have personal finance and the things we've been talking about relationally, and then you have political. I heard Kamala the other day talking about how, and I just seen a TikTok video, right? Like I'm not looking it up all crazy, but did she say something about how she wants to give a $25,000 tax credit to a first-time home buyer? So basically they're going to be able to have an extra $25,000 down. Do you understand that that's going to make people buy more house than they can afford, which is then in turn going to make them default on their payment most likely, which is then in turn going to cause 2008 to happen all over again? Like, how do she think? And that's, I think I just said that because I seen somebody said something about, oh, give free stuff. That's what Democrats essentially run on, is giving free stuff to everybody. But it's not free. It's us paying for it. They give it to people that can't afford it. And it's not going to benefit them. In turn, it's really going to benefit their vote. It's going to sway their vote to want to vote, just like Biden did with forgiving student loans. We're going to forgive all these student loans, and it's going to, oh, sorry, that's not how he talks, but he's we're going to forgive all these student loans.
Caribbean.
Yeah.
The point is to lure in votes at the expense of freedoms, so the people become dependent on the state and we become a welfare state. Therefore, in turn, we become slaves to the system. Like, that is the goal. That's the point. It's the purpose, is to be like, here's a little bit. It looks good. It really isn't, but it looks good. And I'm going to tell you it's good, so you can completely walk into this cell and become my slave. Like, you're walking in here on your own, and then I can tell you that I didn't enslave you. You walked into it. You chose to walk into this.
Right. Huh? Oh, there we go. I'm just putting this here now. Yeah, sorry, y'all can keep on going.
Yeah, I think part of that is that we're in the toxic money culture that causes people to be in debt, which in turn makes them desperate for money, which then in turn makes the government offering those things very tempting. And they go, yeah, I want to vote for that person because I'm in such a shitty. So I feel like if everybody was in a better financial spot in life, they would be voting more red because they wouldn't be needing the handouts of the blue. You know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, my comments were way behind. I'm sorry. I do agree. No, I've never been, one for, once I understood it better. And honestly, I understand it until what I got out of the Marine Corps. Like, what? We were in Bangor when it was up for Obama's first run. Like honestly, like, we talk about stuff, but I don't think too many of us really paid attention to politics the way that we do now at that time. In like, I remember, Doug John, he was like, I'm gonna vote for Obama because why not give the black guy a chance? And I was like, bro, I'll smack you, say something stupid like that again. But at the same time, I'm voting for Obama because it's new, first black president. But I know for sure if I had the same mindset that I have now, I don't think I could have. Well, I don't even remember who he was running against at that time.
I don't either. Was it Mitt Romney?
It might have been.
Yeah, it might have been. I see Godby's comment. He said, yeah, bro, she's working to sacrifice our economy to birth a new one and enslave our wallets like China. Bigly, China. And, it makes me laugh because then somebody said, I think, who said that? Maybe said the hands. He does. He got China.
Oh, that was Gloss. Yeah.
Gloss. Yeah, That's true, man. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, for the most part, you really need to worry about what happens in your house more than the White House. It's good to stay up and current to it, but I don't let it affect my finances. I don't let it affect my life terribly. Unless I see something like they're about to take away or put a tax on ammunition, I am going to be the guy that goes out and buys as much like 308 as I can at the price that it's at because I don't want it to be that when I have to go buy it again.
They've got my money for that. Yep. They got my money the last few scares.
Yeah, like me too. So like it has changed my life in those ways, but that's because I'm trying to protect my freedoms, right? And I'm trying to protect what I think we should have as a country. not what they're trying to steal away.
It's 9 o'clock, y'all. I'm taking this off. It's 9. I'm sweating.
D
I'm
Hills
stuck.
comment. Sorry, I busted out laughing
I do. Oh, and me?
at D Hills comment.
Oh, D Hill.
Hmm.
Oh. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. I'll be back, y'all.
All right.
Hey, I'm gonna go eat dinner and probably watch the debate on my own and stuff. But you guys have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right. See you.
Wow. Bogus. Watch
I
it on
know.
my own. Whatever. BRB. Sorry to leave you by yourself for a second, Tuck.
Okay.
If I can. I don't turn off my camera. Oh. Just so y'all can see my hallway or my combination. Well, I'm not unlocking the door, so. It's weird. I got metal legs, but I feel like I need to stretch my legs.
I'm kind of looking forward. I do kind of want to watch this. This is going to be good. You never know how Trump's going to react. You never know what he's going to say. You never know. He's like, well, it's terrible what she's doing. It's terrible for this country. She's really just a big pile of crap, whatever. He always says off the wall stuff too.
I do as I choose. Also, before I forget, definitely thanks for coming up, Tuck. Oh crap! It started. My bad. Let me unmute it.
Credit that we have given in a long time so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to startup small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon.
Oh, she didn't like
that.
that.
What's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again. And
We are going to end border security debate. I would like to let Vice President respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you on this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight
I don't want to read.
detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump, will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say.
Oh, my
I
Lord.
went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy.
Taiwan.
Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics. and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country,
Yes.
and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest. To understand what that means, a survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. To you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea, and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working one or two jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF. which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question. Would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not
Both
true.
y'all
and
know this.
probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so, that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border?
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking
television
it from the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond
here. Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people, not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Ed, he was no good, I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it, because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, Crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fonnie Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice President
to stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that
Be right back, y'all. I'm
not me. She weaponized.
Other than water.
I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about
Tucker,
democracy. I'm a threat
up.
to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who said her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are vulnerable. My work that is about care is based on long-standing work that I have done. My values have not changed. What is important is that and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, well, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob
what did I miss?
to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say?
Did she bring up when the Trump supporters fucked up DC?
Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand
I'm about
back
to say they did. I seen it.
So for everyone watching who remembers what
They
January 6th
showed out
was,
what they wanted to see.
I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge,
you know, I'm not on nobody's side.
There is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate,
did you like
Obama?
Obama?
This election, there will be a bloodbath. If this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking,
first term, not a second term.
Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where Bloodbath
Facts,
was.
Mimi.
Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say
I
it
don't know.
to the
I
border.
got friends that's illegal,
Phenomenal.
so I
If they
don't
do
know.
that, the
Trump on
border
that
is
other shit.
closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing
And
many
my dog,
people, unlike
been
J6.
illegal
we
all
talked
his
immigration
life.
here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really
So
brings
I
us
don't know.
this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In
Some
the past
people
couple of weeks
don't
leading up
even
to this
be
debate,
choosing to
you
come
have
over
said,
here.
quote, you
Like
lost by a
motherfuckers,
whisker,
mamas be
that
bringing
you,
them over
quote,
here.
didn't quite make
Cause
it, that
what
you
the fuck
came up
they
a little
running
bit
from
short.
back in their own
I said
country?
that.
Are you now
Like niggas is
acknowledging that you lost
I
in
can't
No,
stand
I
2020?
don't
Trump.
acknowledge that
I
at all.
hate
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically.
But
You know
those,
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said
Y'all know
sarcastically.
me, y'all.
Look,
Y'all know
there's so
I
much
don't
proof.
care
All
about
you have to do
mean
is
as it
look
might
at it.
sound. Like
And they
my
should have
friends
sent it back to
that's
the
here legally,
legislatures for
yeah, I care
approval.
about them.
I got almost
Back in the
75
day,
million
Yeah,
votes, the
that's
most
what I'm
votes
saying.
any
That's
sitting
no, but
president
that's
has
what I'm
ever gotten.
saying.
I was told
I'm
if I got
talking about
63,
the
which was
people
what I
that's
got in
been living
2016,
in America
you can't
since
be beaten.
before Trump
The
even
election,
thought about
people
running.
should
You
never
feel
be
what I'm
thinking
saying?
about it. An election is fraudulent. We need two
It's
things. We need
motherfuckers that's
walls,
been
we need,
illegal
and we
since
have
the
to have it.
fucking
We have to
90s,
have
bro.
borders, and we have to have good elections. Our
Yeah,
elections
they're
are
cool, but all
bad.
these people
And a
coming
lot
in
of
now,
these illegal
that's
immigrants
fucking up our
coming
I'm
in,
about to
economy.
they're
say,
trying
them
to get
people
them to
cool.
vote. They can't even speak English. They
That's
don't
the
even know
people
what
I'm
country they're in
concerned about. The
practically. And
motherfuckers
these
that's
people
been
are
living
trying to
over
get them
here.
to vote. And
Like,
that's
what
why
you,
they're allowing them
okay,
to
what
come
you
into
just
our
going,
country.
I
the
did
people
watch
been
all of
over
these
here
pieces of
this whole
video.
time. Y'all just
I didn't
going
detect the sarcasm.
say
Lost
fuck
by a
them
whisker. We didn't
and
quite
put them
make it.
back into
And we should just
a
point out here as
country they
clarification, and you
don't
know this,
know
you and
nothing
your allies,
about.
60
They
cases
more
in front of many
worse than
judges, many of them
No
were
judge looked
Republican,
at it.
they
and
worse
said there
They
was
said
no
off
we
being
didn't
in
have
another
standing.
country than
That's
being
the
over
other thing.
here.
They said we didn't have standing, a
What the
technicality.
fuck? Them
Can you
motherfuckers don't know how
imagine
to
a
survive
system
over there.
where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the
That's
United
why
States
see,
doesn't
and
have
that's the part
standing.
that they're
That's
lying
how
about.
we lost.
Them fools,
If you
what
look at the
eating
facts, and
pigeons
I'd
and
love to
ducks
have you'll do
and
a
cats and
special
dogs
on
in
it.
parks.
I'll show
But
you
still,
I think them
Georgia,
it's
and
not
I'll
pictures.
good
show
for
you
her.
Wisconsin,
It's
and I'll show you
not. It's
Pennsylvania,
not.
and I'll
I'm
show
not
you.
saying it
We have so
is.
many
But I'm
facts and
saying, what
statistics.
about the
But you
people
know
that's
what? That
already
doesn't matter
here?
because we have to solve the problem that we have right now.
Yeah,
That's
I
old
mean,
The
news.
most of them
And
are
the
willing,
problem that we have
he
decent.
right
trying to
now
go,
is we
listen,
have
what
a
Trump about to
nation
do,
in decline,
Trump about to
and
put
they
them
have put it
fucking
into
walls up,
decline.
right?
We have a
Once he get
nation
them
that
walls
is
put up,
dying, David.
Mr. President, thank
you
you.
think he
Vice
not about to
President
do a
Harris,
clean
you heard the
sweep?
president there tonight. He said he
I
didn't
don't
say
think
he
he can
lost by a whisker, so he
get rid of
still
those laws
believes
in here
he did not lose the
because of
election.
the laws. The newer
That was
ones,
won
yeah,
by President
but the
Biden
ones that's been here, I
and
don't think
yourself.
he can get rid of them.
Yeah,
But I do want to ask you about
that
something
nigga
that's
got
come up in
so
the last
many
couple of days. This
bills
was a
that he
post
done
from
fucking
President
put
Trump
in. What the
about
fuck? He
this
put them
upcoming
shit in.
election just
So
weeks
and
away.
it
He said,
shit
when
went
I
easily
win,
than the
those
rest
people
of the
who cheated,
motherfuckers
and then
that
he
put
lists
in
donors,
bills.
voters,
Why?
election
Because he
officials,
got
he
paper
says will be
behind his
prosecuted to
name.
the
When
fullest
you got
extent of the
that bread
law,
behind
which
your
will include
name, you can
long-term
really
prison
push shit
sentences.
around this
One of your
motherfucker. And
campaign's
that's
top
what
lawyers
America
responded saying, we
operate
won't
off
let Donald
of.
Trump intimidate
Money.
us. We won't let him
What would be
suppress
his
the vote.
game for
that
Why
what
I
you
feel
like
like
to
I'm
say?
raising my voice? Because this thing playing. I feel
Donald
like
Trump
I'm being
was
well,
rude.
because
I'm
finally
so
they're
sorry,
fighting for
talking.
his
cousin.
people.
I know,
So
but
let's
No,
I'm
no,
not
not
no,
talk
trying
you're
to.
about that.
fine.
And
I feel
clearly
like
he's
I'm
having a
deaf tone
very
right
difficult
now.
time processing that.
No, I mean, because I
But
got the volume
we
all the way up.
cannot afford to have a president
Oh,
of
okay,
the
okay.
United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that
GB, come
I,
up
I
here.
have traveled the
Everybody.
world as vice president of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with
Mamitas?
military leaders, some of
What
whom
the
work
hell? Who
with you,
taught you
and
that,
they say you're a
D-Hill?
disgrace.
Good night,
And when you
D-Hill.
then
The
talk in
fuck?
this way in a presidential debate and deny
Who the fuck is
what
Mamitas?
over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the
Roll the feet
temperament
together.
or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about
Maybe
world
it's because
leaders.
I ain't had my feet
Victor
since
Orban, one of
2011.
the
But
most
what is rubbing
respected
your
men.
feet
They call
together?
him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart.
Oh,
Prime
God.
Minister of Hungary.
What are
They said,
feet?
why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't.
I
Why
don't
is
think
it
I've ever
blowing
heard
up?
that term.
He said, because
Hey.
you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him.
These questions are
North
super
Korea was
pointed,
afraid of him.
by the way, y'all.
Look at what's going
They're
on with
pointed
North
to
Korea, by
Kamala's
the way.
benefit.
He
I
said
don't care what
Russia
y'all
was
say.
afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, put it on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world.
He sounds so
Look,
gay saying that.
Victor
Pipeline.
Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But
Mr.
he
President.
got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm
President,
okay with it
Mr.
because
President, your time is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead, 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered
Why do I
1,200
see
Israelis.
feet in the chat?
Many
That
of
is
them
so
young people who were
disrespectful.
simply attending
That's
a
why y'all
concert.
toes crunchy.
Women were horribly
Crunchy.
raped.
That's why y'all
And so
toes is
absolutely,
crunchy
I said
and
then,
y'all
I say
heels
now,
is crusty.
Israel has a
Nobody
right
care
to
about
defend
y'all
itself.
feet.
We would.
Right,
And
them
how it
yellow
does
feet.
so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately. And the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will
I ain't gonna
always
lie, I
give
do
Israel the
miss my
ability
pinky
to
toe.
defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and
Yeah, I
any
miss
threat
my
that
pinky
Iran
toe.
and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
She said, hold up, my feet
President
smooth
Trump,
as
how
fuck.
would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the
You got long
hostages out and
toes.
prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would
That
have
go
never
crazy.
started. If
Oh,
I were president,
that's
Russia
scary.
would have
On
never,
the mind,
ever. I
just
know
text.
Putin very well.
Why is she
He
so
would
worried?
have never,
What
and there was
about
no threat of it
Palestine?
either, by the way, for
What
4
about
years.
here? What about
Have
us?
gone into Ukraine and
What
killed
Palestine?
millions of people. When you add it up,
Oh
it's
my
far worse than people
God.
understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about
I'm saying fuck all
Israel,
those
all of a
countries.
sudden, She hates Israel. She
My
wouldn't
bills
even
is high
meet
here. My
with
groceries high as fuck.
Netanyahu when he went to Congress to
Oh,
make a very
Trump is
important speech.
snappy.
She refused
He's
to be there
real
because she was
snappy.
at a sorority party of hers. She
Oh,
wanted to go
oh
to
my
the sorority
God.
party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good
Hey,
at
Deanna,
predictions,
you
and
in
I
here?
hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the
Look how tight her
whole
lips got.
place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be
Trump
gone.
be saying
It
some
would have
shit,
never
bruh.
happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money
Good
for
night.
Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different
Oh, somebody going to bed?
spheres of terror.
Night,
Yeah,
whoever's
they
going
are
to bed.
spheres
I'm
of
too high
terror,
up.
horrible terror.
Oh, good
They
night,
had no
dude.
money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They
How
had
about
no
you got tree
money
frog
for
toes?
terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation. And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get
Oh,
that settled
shit.
and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
Oh,
No,
hell
that's
no. This
absolutely not
debate
true.
been
I
going
have
on for 3
my entire
hours.
career and life supported
Nah,
Israel and
my
the
live been going
Israeli
on for
people.
3 hours.
He
Oh,
knows
I
that
was about to
he's
say
trying to again
warlord.
divide
Bruh.
and distract from the
No,
reality,
I would have been
which
going
is
to
it
bed.
is
I'd be like,
very
I'll
well
catch the
known
replay.
that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires
He's
dictators,
about peace,
wants to be a
stability, and
dictator on
security.
day one,
Fine.
according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that
I just
he
don't like
can
how
do
she's
whatever the
like,
hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is
this
well
country
known
been
that he
fucked
said
up. It's
when
not all his
Russia went
fault
into
now.
Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known
Any
he
candidate needs to be
exchanged
concentrated on
love
this
letters
country,
with Kim Jong
my
Un.
opinion.
Right.
And it is absolutely well known that these dictators
Is
and
that a shadow
autocrats
of
are
her neck
rooting
loose?
for you to be president again because they're so clear.
Oh, it's a
They can
shadow.
manipulate you with flattery
You
and
trying to say she
favors.
got gobble
And
gobble
that is
neck.
why so
I
many
thought she
military
did.
leaders who you
I
have
mean, it's a
worked
little
with
loose, but
have
not as
told
loose as I
me
thought.
you are a
His
disgrace.
ass.
That is
She's got
why
a little
we
little
understand that
wrinkles.
we have to have a president who is not
Right.
consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she
How about
wins.
it when
And I
you get
think
back
he
to the
meant
States,
it,
you need to not be
because
allowed
what he's gotten away with
females.
is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The
That
leaders
man
of
will go
other
crazy.
countries
That
think that
nigga
they're
gonna
weak
have
and
like 5
incompetent, and they
babies.
are. They're grossly
Right,
incompetent.
you're right.
And I just ask
You
one
probably
That
end up having
question.
a
nigga
whole
gonna
Why does
skeet up
Biden
in
go in and kill the
everything.
Keep
He
pipeline
fucked.
and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the
It's
biggest
over with.
pipeline anywhere in the world, going to Germany and all over Europe,
lock you up,
because
bro.
they're weak and they're
Yeah, nigga,
ineffective.
don't let her
And
ride you.
Biden,
It's
by
over with. It's over
We'll
with
be back
for
with much
you,
more in
buddy.
your ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Damn, that's the first break. Shit.
Yes, Lord. We got a
The
break.
ABC News presidential debate will continue
Damn.
after this.
Woo.
I said mute the audio. What the hell?
This year, C-SPAN
I guess
celebrates 45
I
years
gotta
of
do it
covering
there,
Congress
Ken.
like no other. Since 19...
Anyways, Deanna, do you mess with politics, ma'am? Young lady, grown woman, ma'am? Or no, you don't mess with it. Hey, Miss Deanna. Deanna. Yeah, that's how you spell it.
What's up, Deanna?
Everybody, I feel like those questions are definitely in favor of Kamala, but because I think CNN, we're watching it on C-SPAN, but CNN is the one hosting it. That's not even me being biased. The way
I
that
don't
I am, I'm
think
saying that.
so. I think they know Trump can handle it. So it don't matter what type of questions you throw at that nigga. That nigga go. It don't matter
He is
what y'all
clear.
throw at that nigga. He gonna handle his.
If he was younger, I think he'd be able to roast.
Yeah, for real. Facts.
I mean, got by. Oh, hold up. She did turn down the debate on Fox, so I did that.
Shit. I wouldn't want to keep debating with Trump every fucking day neither. The fuck.
Yeah, I think it can be exhausting. Are they standing up or sitting down? Because I know she wanted it so that they can sit down and she can have
Oh
notes.
no, they standing
And
up.
I think
They were standing
okay,
up.
yeah, I was gonna say I think he said fine, she can do notes, but nah, we got to stand up. I guess that's a part of the pressure. I don't know. I'm younger. I mean, I can stand up all day. My knees don't ache, so I can stand up all day if I need to.
You ate that one. Oh shit. But nah, what I'm about to say, boy, you done fucked me up with that one. Oh shit. I done lost my train of thought. Go ahead. Oh shit.
That's all I was saying.
Ooh.
Are they back yet? No, good. Oh, I can't see the comments from here though. Huh? Let me open up my phone.
I kind of feel like it's headed that way anyway. But I could be wrong.
Did I miss something? Let me jump back to StreamYards. No, they want. Yeah, no, there's definitely a good amount of people that's trying to make the comments. And see, I keep on saying people. I don't know how much people care. Don't forget, y'all. She is what you call a democratic or democratic socialist.
Cause my knees don't
So,
hurt neither.
they don't. My back's a good question, but that's just as long as I don't be walking around all day. If I'm standing there, I'm good. Where did all these come from? They just appeared on my screen. I guess my thing was frozen.
You said what? Oh, comments.
Yeah, all the comments I missed, they just kind of appeared on my screen. D Hill said a while. I feel on that, DM. I like debating, so I think that's part of the reason why I got so into it. I'm about to unmute this.
David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back to this
I like
historic
debating, but I hate. I can't stand the
tonight. We're going to
motherfucker.
continue here, and I want to turn to the war in
I
Ukraine. We're
just
now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their
I don't like
sovereignty
that,
and
David. I
democracy.
don't like his
That
face.
it's in America's best interest to do so. Arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by
Trump.
the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers.
Maybe
Look,
Trump may not be a
we're in
total
for
dick.
250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because
Biden
right now
because they're listening super tight.
don't have the
Earlier,
courage
them
to
listening
ask
real tight.
Europe like I did with NATO.
She looked real
they paid
annoyed.
billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, you pay up or we're not going to protect you
She looks
anymore.
like
So
someone's
that's maybe
mom
one of the reasons
that's
they don't
that's mad
like
at
me
you
as
in
much as they
public
like
and
weak
ain't trying to
people.
pop you up
But
yet in the middle of
take
Walmart.
a look at what's happening. We're in for
But she getting there.
250 to 275 billion.
Giving it that
They're into
that
100 to
evil eye.
150. They should
Mhm.
forced
Mm-hmm.
to
That,
equalize.
that fake
With that
smile,
being
like
said,
like as soon as
I
we get
want to
back
get
to
the
that
war
car, as
settled.
soon as we
I
get
know
home.
Zelensky very
Oh,
well, and I know Putin very well.
I'ma
I have a
fuck
good
I'm not
you
putting
up.
that up
relationship, and
there,
they
Bobby.
respect
I'm
your
not putting up there
president.
what you just
Okay,
said.
they respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody.
No,
They don't
he's a
even
super
try to
dick.
get it.
Oh, okay.
That is a
I
war
thought I
that
okay.
has to be settled. I get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened.
He doing
And
the
in fact,
fingers,
when I
boss.
saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of
Biden had
people
no
dead,
idea where he
and
was
it's
at.
only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself,
Mm-mm.
David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president. They threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time
Damn.
is up. Just to clarify in the question,
Oh,
do you
he's a
believe it's in the
dick.
U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's
Yep,
the U.S.
exactly,
best
Bob.
interest
He
to
was
get
doing
this
it.
war
He was doing the
finished
fingers
and
exactly.
just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we
Oh,
have
there
to
you go.
stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander in Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir
Where
Putin?
is
And would it be any
where
different from
is
what we're seeing from President Biden?
where's the
Well,
president
first of
at?
all, it's
Oh,
important
he's
to
shady.
remind the former president
Ooh,
you're not running against Joe
shady
Biden, you're running
boots.
against me.
Poor
I
body.
believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what
Yeah, because
happened
you get
here.
rich off of us being
I
dumb
actually
lady.
met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and
That's
territorial
the thing people
integrity.
don't realize. A
And
lot
I
of these.
met with President
Oh,
Zelensky. I shared with
It
him
does,
American
boss. I
intelligence
was looking at
about how
that.
he could defend
Well,
himself.
the watermelon
Days
part.
later, he went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through
I
the
want some
work that I
cucumber
and
water
others did,
now.
we brought 50 countries
Don't nobody
together
drive
to
around here with
support
base but me.
Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because
I
Look
think
at
of
the
I'm about
our
to
camera.
make you
support,
some cucumber
because of the
water.
air
Come on.
defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the
In the pickup
Abrams
truck
tanks
too.
that we
Come
have
on, man.
provided,
You're messing
Ukraine
up, bro.
stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now.
Yeah.
And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no
Oh
longer
God.
president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Damn.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've spoken both of
Damn.
you on
Okay,
Ukraine
Camilla, you
tonight.
the
Afghanistan
girl.
came
You
up in
had
the
to go
last
back
hour.
there
I
and
wanted her to
talk to
respond to
yourself
something
in
you
that
said
mirror.
earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow.
I think she probably hear you
much
talking
happier
shit too,
right now.
Warlord.
But
She getting
eventually, you know, he's
mad.
got a thing that other people don't have. He's got
Who?
nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually,
I'm
maybe
talking
he'll
about
use them, and
Camilla.
maybe he hasn't been that
Oh,
threatening.
whatever.
But
She can use
he
that.
does have
Come on.
that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But
If
just so
she
you
got back about
understand,
10
they
10
sent
years,
her to negotiate
I'm not even
peace
thinking about
before
letting her
this
hold
war
my hand.
started. 3 days
Oh,
later,
God.
he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with
But y'all don't realize that
Zelensky and
didn't want
Putin,
to attack.
and
He
she
didn't want.
did.
He
And
didn't
the
want
war
the rest
started
of
3 days later.
Europe.
And that's the kind of
NATO
talent we
surrounded
have
him. He
with her.
said, "Don't
She's
surround
worse
my
than
country."
Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the
I'm
worst
not giving him
president
a
in the
pass,
history of our
but
country. She goes down as the worst vice
also
president in the
they
history
get
of our
rich off
country.
of
But
us
let me tell
being
you
more.
something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to
I
negotiate.
don't know what
As
happened.
soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
I was
President Trump, thank you. You
moving.
did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And
Ooh.
that is another one.
Ooh.
When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander in chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the
Whoa, what
significance of
happened?
America's
Was it
role
my
and
beeping? Oh.
responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did.
Yeah,
and as a result,
he was president.
America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century.
That's a
But
lot.
let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with
thank
the
you.
Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They didn't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left
the bag. Look in the where the
$85 billion
vegetables are.
worth of brand new,
I
beautiful
thought
military
Honey gets
equipment
your dick
behind.
hard.
And just to finish, they
You know what?
blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, 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 and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
And
on.
these people did the worst withdrawal and, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you
Not
recently
putting
said
that,
of Vice
Godbody.
President Harris,
Not
quote,
putting that up
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't
He
care
was
what
talking
she
to the
is.
Black
I don't care.
Caucus of Chicago.
Wait, can
That's
you
what
You
rewind
make a
that
big
part?
deal.
Can you rewind
I
that
couldn't
back?
care
That
less.
was too.
Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I don't
asking.
know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out.
Hold up.
And I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either
Responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander in chief with a level of.
but I got involved.
I'm sorry, y'all.
And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore.
Well, you got to
do it
think about
anymore,
where
you're
he
gonna
sit
have
at and
problems.
why he sit at,
And he
Gloss.
said, why do you send me a
Because she
picture of
claims
my house? I
black
said, you're
when
going to
it
have to
benefits
figure
her.
that out, Abdul. And
For
for
that, she
18
was
months,
Indian. She was
we
black.
had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement.
My
The
opinion, I'll
reason
say, to
it
be
was
fair.
good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, 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 and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
And
on.
these people did the worst withdrawal,
Oh.
and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
Ooh.
President Trump, thank
Ooh.
you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I
asking.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want
I can
this
tell that they
kind of
put it on to that
approach that is
laughing
just
stuff.
constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was a land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to Black families. Let's remember,
What are you
this is the
trying to
same
say?
individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their
Oh
execution.
Lord.
This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do. I travel our country.
Lord.
We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many,
What
many
she
years,
just said.
a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single
He was one of
policy.
the only
And
people giving
remember
Black
this,
entrepreneur
she is
business
Biden.
owners.
You know, she's
business
trying to get
loans
away
in New
from
York.
Biden. I don't know the gentleman.
It
She
didn't
says
make them pay
she
them
is
back
Biden. The
if they do what they
worst
said they were gonna do.
inflation we've ever had. A horrible economy because inflation
So
has
you
made it
basically
so
telling me
bad
I don't
that
know.
she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up. Lindsay.
No, I'm saying I could be like any
Clearly,
other rich
I am not
person.
Joe Biden, and I am
Might
certainly
care, might
not
not care
Donald
about
Trump.
us normal people. But
And what I
don't
do
view him as a
offer
racist.
is a
Like,
new generation of leadership
he
for
was
our
one of the only
country.
people giving black
One
black
who
entrepreneurs
believes
big
in
business
what is
loans.
possible, one who brings a sense
Deanna
of
Trump is a
optimism
cancer.
about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what
And
we can
also come
do
up with
to strengthen our small businesses,
had
which is
evidence.
why
She
I
kept
have a
black
plan.
men in
Let's
jail.
talk
I don't
about
want to
our
hear
I
that.
plans.
feel like I
Let's
really
compare
never
the
seen
plans.
Kamala in the
I have
hood
a plan
before. I want to see
to give
Kamala in the
startup
motherfucking
businesses
hoods. Damn it.
$50,000
Then
She
I'll
just went to
believe her.
she just went
to
to a barber shop,
pursue
and
their
they wasn't
ambitions,
having it.
their
They
Fuck
didn't
a
like it.
ambition,
barber
their
shop.
ideas,
Fuck
their
the
hard
go
work.
It
to
was
the
in the
There's
hood.
basketball
$10,000
The
court.
barber shop in the hood.
for
They
young
wasn't having it. They
families
didn't
in the
like it.
first year
No.
of your child's life
The hood,
to help
the
you
barbershop
in that
don't
most
say shit.
critical
This
stage of your
ain't
child's
barbershop the
development. I
movie.
have a plan that is about
No, for black men, it
allowing
means
people
something
to be able to
that's our place of
pursue
discussion
what has been
nowadays.
fleeting
I
in terms
mean
of the
for black
American dream
men, but what
by
about the
offering
women?
a help with down
What
payment of
what about the
$25,000
children?
down payment
Yeah, you
assistance for first-time home buyers.
Right.
know,
That's the kind of
I don't want her own
conversation I
children.
believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a
You-
conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
To
Come off
defund
his
the
mic.
police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump,
president has said
no, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry.
I
We're
just
gonna
need to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he
President
has said
Trump,
Oh
this
my
is now
God!
your
Oh
third
my
time
God! Oh
running
my
for
God!
president.
I
You have
can't.
long
Oh my
vowed
God.
to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be? Never going to be great. Or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Pass this
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made
of
a mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years, but it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private.
Warlord, did
wants
she talk about
everybody
police
on
brutality
government
yet?
insurance where you wait
No.
6 months for an operation that
Did
you
she
need
say
immediately.
anything
thank
about
you. We have
like
another
how,
issue that
like,
we'd like
you
to get to
know,
that's
the
important for a number of
environments of
Americans,
the
in particular
the
younger voters, and that's
lower
climate
class
change.
people
President
be
Trump, with regard to the
about the
environment, you
change,
say that we
making
have to
change in
have
that?
clean and
Like
clean
she like
water.
you. That's
Vice
what I'm talking
President
about. This
Harris, you
why.
call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up.
Did they talk about
You
the
ask
food
anybody who
prices?
has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home,
Not exactly
having
food,
nowhere
but
to
they kind of hit
go.
on prices.
We
I don't
know
think
that
that's
we
gonna
can
focus yet.
actually deal
That was
with this issue.
earlier.
The young people of America care deeply
Hopefully
about
they
this
get to that
issue.
stuff.
And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico.
How many
in
bricks
many
are they
cases
allowed to
owned
have?
by China. They're building these
Say that again?
massive plants, and they
How
think they're going
many
to sell
bricks
their
are they
cars
allowed to
into the
have?
United States because of these
I
people.
don't know.
What they do into China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible.
Yeah, she
We
has
have
notes.
nothing
Yep,
because
okay.
they refuse.
It's
You
no
know,
sitting down.
Biden doesn't go after
notes.
people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our
you
candidates.
go.
An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
We're going to do a break and finish it out.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
This shit is crazy.
How would the base be? Some lies, some truths, some half lies, some half truths. That's why I always preach. I know I get on with it, but I always preach: do the research yourself. Just don't use Google. Google's biased. Use like DuckDuckGo. I think Bing.com is so good. You know, if you care that much, if you care then whatever. But if someone cares that much, just do the research yourself. Look through a few different websites that says certified or
Oh God, Google just came in and took over and said, "Fuck Yahoo."
Oh yeah, and they're biased. I think Yahoo's kind of biased too. I do remember the days of Yahoo though.
They were.
Oh wow, did y'all comment? Wait, was my comments frozen or?
No, but I don't know. They were coming slow for me a little bit too. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm at now. Okay, I found it. Oh, I must have just scrolled up by accident.
They'll probably have another one or two more.
What debates?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to have at least one more. I
Yeah, I
think I
think
could be wrong.
because
Election is in
they supposed.
November, so
I'm about to say it's right before. It's the first in it.
I think
It's
so.
either the first or the fifth. One of them days. Damn. Am I gonna vote this year? Hmm. I don't see me what change it would do. What it would help my little vote, my one vote.
I mean,
How many people live in
vote
America
for other
again?
people.
You s-
I forget.
we know the homeless people ain't voting, so
Mm.
that it's like this shit is already like I don't know.
Yeah, I
Some
think
of
three
these
point five.
fellas can't vote. I just feel like what's the whole point of having an election? You feel me? If not everybody can vote, it's fucked up. It doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck what a motherfucker lifestyle is. What the fuck? If you live in this fucking country and you legal, I feel like you should have the right to vote.
Yeah,
I'm
I
with
think there's a few freedoms. I think people that you know did their time should get back. Like if you did your time, if they felt like that
yeah, like you feel me? If you did your
you
time,
know
like damn,
come
what the
back to
fuck?
society. Yeah,
But if you currently doing time, I mean, nah, nah.
yeah. I guess it's kind of like you got to prove yourself back as a whatever the word is, citizen, good citizen of society. But after you did your time, yeah,
Yeah, but
I
there's
think
some people that's locked up for shit that they ain't do. You feel me?
that's too. And of course, y'all know I'm biased, so I'm pointing out again. That's what Kamala was doing. She was trying to keep black men in jail, hiding evidence and stuff, suppressing evidence as well.
Hmm.
When she was attorney general of she was born in Oakland. I forget, but basically in Cali. See that part I don't like. Like you ain't allowed to be born in the same city I was born in. We don't claim you.
Presidential debate. A reminder, we'll open the phone lines as the debate ends to get your reaction.
Godbody's gonna call and say something nasty.
Oh Lord.
Center in
Godbody gonna
Philadelphia,
call over. He's
Pennsylvania.
like,
Here again,
what color
David
this
Muir
Kamal got
and
on?
Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward.
I don't like your future, Kamal.
But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in
Like
common
what
than
if
what
what if
separates us.
motherfuckers
And
vote
we
for
can chart
Camilla?
a new
She get in
way
the house
forward.
and she
And
do the
a
total
vision of
opposite.
that includes having a plan,
Honestly,
understanding the
that's a risk we take
aspirations,
with
the
any
dreams,
president.
the hopes, the
I mean,
ambition
again,
of the
I'm
American
biased,
people, which is
so I'm looking
why
at the
I
point out. She
intend to
took a lot of
create
Trump's talking
an
point. But
opportunity
she's also
economy,
said she has the same
investing in
value.
small businesses, in new families,
And at the end of the
in what
day,
we can do
she's a
around
democratic
protecting
socialist. She
seniors, what we
wants
can
value,
do that is
in
about
my opinion.
giving
We are not a
Right.
socialist
hardworking
country.
folks
We're
a
not a
break
communist.
and bringing down the cost of living.
Right.
I believe in what we can
That's
do
what they all
together
do.
that is
Oh
about
God, that's
sustaining
why I
America's
said, bro,
standing
what's
in
the
the
fuck the
world
fucking
and ensuring
point?
that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal
Again, you're the one
fighting
who said the
force
veterans are
in the
racist now,
world.
so shut up.
I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to
D
make
Hill, don't let
decisions
her play with you.
about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I
Yeah,
was an
we know.
attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first.
Bitch, I believe
intend to
you
be a
give a
president
fuck about
of all
us, but you pull up in the
and
damn
focus
hood
on what we can do over the next 10 and 20
and not just the
years to
barbershop.
build the country
Sorry,
by
Warlord.
investing now in you, the American
Okay.
people.
She ain't go to
Vice
my
President
barbershop.
Harris, thank you. President Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now,
So
go
wait,
down to
so
that
Trump ain't a
beautiful White
felon?
House, go to the Capitol, get everyone
No.
together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't
So
do
Some
he
it
of
ain't
that
never get
because
locked.
you believe in
He ain't
things
never had
that
to get
the
locked up.
American people don't believe in. You
he
believe in
might when they do the
things
census
like
thing,
we're
but
not going to frack, we're
that
not going to
might
take
get
fossil
that
fuel, we're
pretty
not
much
going to
might
do
get overturned
things
because
that
of
are
stuff
going
that
to
people have
make this
said. Like
country
they
strong,
pretty
whether
much
you
made it
like it or
clear.
not. Germany
Yes,
tried that, and
this
within
is
1
for
year they were back to
political
building
stuff. So
normal
that's why they moved
energy
back and
plants.
sequencing
We're
till
not
after
ready
the
for
election.
it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one
Because
simple
if he
question.
wins, they
Why
want to be on his good
didn't
side.
she do it?
If he
We're a
loses, they might
failing
try to put him in
nation.
jail.
We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're
It's
coming to
crazy.
see
My
me.
little sister
They
got the
call
same
me.
birthday as this
We're
nigga.
laughed at all over the world. They don't understand
Fucking
what happened to
psychos.
us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
And that concludes the ABC presidential debate. C-SPAN's coverage of it continues here tonight with viewer reaction and reaction on the ground from the candidates' supporters. You can see reporters swarming
Oh,
there in
God.
the spin. Let's go down
Is
to
it
the spin
over with?
room at the Philadelphia Convention Center and listen in.
And also, you know, because I mean, he has a lot of support now, but if he goes to jail, that's just going to boost his support even more.
Right.
How does the best basketball player of all time make more in
I
retirement?
think this is pretty
than he ever
interesting.
did on
Very
the court?
interesting what's going on here. I can't wait to find out when the next debate is. Definitely tune in for that one.
Right. Right. I mean, I appreciate y'all. I don't know why I'm getting a headache. I know someone's like, oh, because you ain't drinking enough water. Probably someone like,
I was about to just
more
you
like
better
God
drink
body.
some. Drink
I've been
some
using
water.
this all.
You ain't got no cucumbers?
No, I'm not a cucumber fiend like you. I heard you say something about it the other day.
I was
No,
about to
but
say, put some cucumbers in your water. It tastes really good. Very
yeah, I was
refreshing
actually
too.
so I messed up and I put apples and strawberries in this, and like I was cleaning this out for weeks before I could drink out of it again. I was like,
Oh
wrong thing to put it
nah,
in.
cucumbers ain't like that. You supposed to that shit. I reuse the cucumbers at least once.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you,
yeah, no,
God body.
I think I should have used a plastic or a glass one.
Yeah, yeah. Don't
And
use
then
your good cup.
I'm
That's one of
about to start using.
that's one of them little bottles that don't burn up.
Yeah, it's metal,
But I'm saying like, oh okay, you right.
but I mean, sit in the dishwasher good. So when I clean it once a week. I soak it in hot bleach water and then rinse it out. I just let it sit in the sink, rinsing out for a good hour,
Right.
boot camp style, I guess.
I gotta get me one of those. My kids got one for school.
Yeah, stainless steel will be with that bottle, copper bottle.
Get a copper bottle. Where you get one of those from?
Where did I get this from? I think I got
Fuck
this
up,
from
boy,
Walmart.
easy. That what you mean? Fuck
Right,
up.
why you coming
Why
at me,
you
D
talking to
Hill?
my cousin like that, nigga? I don't know
Right,
who the
he just
fuck you
he
talking
came at me
to.
out of nowhere.
Oh
Just out of
God.
nowhere, like, damn.
The fuck you talking to, nigga? Don't make me get on your ass now, bruh. I
I
would
can't,
hate
I
to
can't
have to get on
just
your
live.
ass.
Yeah, I can't just live. Goodness gracious! Like,
Shit.
why you gotta get violent at whatever time it is at 10:51 at night?
Oh
I'm trying to go to
God.
bed.
You ain't sleepy,
You
nigga.
up,
We
trying
just
to go
watched that
to
long ass shit. We about to go to bed.
bed. You mad about the debate? Just out of
He
nowhere.
mad as shit. The fuck? Oh, fat head ass nigga. Damn. Rude. Mm, mm, mm. Sorry, D Hill. We see how you feel down there in them comments.
See if I remember you during Christmas
What
time.
you mean? What was wrong with the chat, bro? Shut your ass up. He doesn't take time to say shut the
He said he's
fuck
gonna
up.
flex. Shut up
Oh
real quick.
God. He's scary as fuck, God body. Oh, scary ass. He could have just said that. Fuck you scared to type the word, nigga.
You people got problems. Y'all got problems. Hey D Hill, just let me know, bro. Whenever I'm around you, I'm gonna wear the vest. I can't trust you, bro. You be randomly violent.
Oh God. That nigga
You
is a
might put two on my back
sniper.
when I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna lay there and cry. Call the police on you. Something.
So
Call somebody.
will.
D Hill came at me. Gloss, what you mean? It's out of nowhere.
I don't know
I'm
why
sorry,
I could
crying.
just see D Hill tasing me in my back and me just falling out my chair. I just see it now. The fuck?
Just stomping somebody for no reason.
For no reason.
Sorry. Yeah, I told you
For real.
I'm gonna buy a Call of Duty 6 just for you. We was gonna be on the same team. We
It's
can't
his
even do
key
it now.
limes. Well, he need to stay away from key limes. The fuck? I don't understand when he be coming out of nowhere with such aggression because D Hill's always sweet with me. It's just like, damn. He try
You
to
always
act
be having
so innocent and act like he don't, you feel me? But he be showing out in you and
time.
God body chat. He be
This
showing
is
out.
time. All right. You be coming in with the perfect time and saying wild stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was the last time I was innocently just talking about some groceries? This man said, "Don't you ever put my name in groceries." Save sentence.
This is that one nigga that just scream out
He asked
random
me what was
shit.
I talking about. I just said I was gonna eat
Fuck,
some groceries. That's
sir.
it.
Not you start typing with your scary ass. You hear us talking shit. You done talk all that shit and get quiet now. That's why your knees be hurting. Ha!
Right.
Ah!
Nah, I'm not brother. All love, brother.
I know. I'm gonna leave
Yeah,
you alone.
he be coming in with the perfect timing with the stuff he be saying. But still, bro, you had me rolling. This man said, "Don't you ever put my
Let
name
me
in
leave
groceries."
D Hill below, bruh. For I hurt his feelings. I'm sorry, D Hill. I'm okay. I'm not gonna be mean no more. I ain't gonna talk shit to you no more. I'm sorry, friend. I'm so
You ain't
sorry.
never said that before, got body.
I got strong knees.
Said
Pause.
I got some.
Oh no.
And she got a strong back, and I got strong knees.
Oh. He got the mega knees. There's no way you can hurt my feelings. You know what?
Because you be chilling too hard, D Hill. That's probably true. You be chilling too hard. You be too chill. I see you just shrugging everything off. I can definitely see that.
His knees are tough and blistered. Ooh. Tell that man stop disrespecting you now. Nah, all right. You running out now. You playing on my man's top now.
Buddy,
You got about 10
you can never be
wise
a
crackers
high
before.
school gym teacher or a college volleyball coach. You can never. You are banned, God body.
I'm dead.
Man, y'all just key lime all night.
Key lime is so disgusting. I don't know what the fuck they talk about, but that's weird. Soon
Right.
as they
First
say
time
key lime,
key lime pie.
oh
Granted, I ain't
God,
real
like niggas still eat
supposed
key
to be
lime
frozen,
pie.
but I was
Ugh.
like, what is this? What did I just eat? Even though it was frozen, I didn't realize. I was little. I was being greedy.
It was good.
No, it was not.
Oh yeah, that shit stank. That shit stank. I don't know how the fuck y'all eat them key limes. I roast with the best of them. But you don't never want to come over. You know what? I don't fuck with you, bro. You funny acting. God body too. Y'all some weak. Y'all some butt buddy ass niggas, huh? You know what? I'm getting down. I'm mad at you too now, Warlord.
Why? Because we were kicking it and got body shot. Oh dang, she got down, goddamn. Oh yeah, since I can finally go to bed, I'm about to take it to bed soon. Like I said, I don't know. I guess my age is catching up. But I've been going to bed early lately. Oh man, I didn't even work out tonight. Well, it was the debate. That's fine. I'll work out twice tomorrow. I'm gonna be like God body. I'm gonna show up on someone's panel with my shirt off in the push-up position already. Appreciate it, bro. Oops. Damn, check it moving. We see D Hill was productive. Good night, son. Good night, Gloss. Who you talking to? One of them or both of them? He said buzz, buzz. Both of them. All right, D Hill. Good night, bro. Peace out. And everybody that came, stopped by, stayed in, watched the debate with us. Sorry if I was talking on the wrong parts, but I had to make sure there's commentary in there so I don't pull it down. All right, y'all. Have a good night.